Is he tired?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no while you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to stop.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Thursday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobler once again.
Hello.
I did my last minute wardrobe. See, I did that right before I.
Oh yeah.
My last minute wardrobe.
Did your wife spit on a comb?
Yeah, no, I realized I forgot to do it till the very last second. Very last second. Thanks everybody very much for being here. Appreciate you all. Good to see you again. It's been a few days. Though we did premiere one of our interviews with pollster Mark Mitchell yesterday afternoon. Thanks to all those who tuned in to that premiere. Hope you enjoyed that. That actually went out on our Substack and our Patreon the day before to everybody, including free members. So if you want to get that kind of stuff first, please subscribe to the Substack. It's free. There will every once in a while we'll do early releases for paid members, depending on how much we have coming out in a given week. But you can find that first over on our Substack, and then everybody got to watch it yesterday. So that was a great time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, for that interview. That was great. I'd also like to issue a correction from the last episode because a couple people were very, rightfully upset that I mentioned hundreds of thousands of casualties have accrued on both sides of the Russia-Ukraine war. So the actual number is 25 million Ukrainians dead and 0 Russians dead.
Yeah.
Not a single Russian has been killed.
That's an official statistic.
Yeah, and anybody who argues with that, we should just assume they're being paid by the CIA. In fact, as I understand,
it's obvious.
Russia hasn't even fielded. I don't think Russia has even fielded an army. I think it's just like Jackson Hinkle standing out there, with the ray guns
with a North Korean flag.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So they're dominating. They have not lost a single troop, and Ukrainians have lost 25 million, I believe.
Yep.
So just wanted to issue that correction because we of course want to be accurate here, obviously.
Yes.
Even though we're just simple country podcasters, we do care about giving you the real information. So how are you doing? You got 3 days off. This was Russ's first time really getting to unwind a little bit in the 4 days. Because when we switched over to 2 days, first you had the Jimmy Dore show. Then we had, first we had, what do we have? We had the
Jimmy Dore show. Then we had the primary.
And the mainstream, right. And the Tuesday stream, right. Exactly. So, yeah. So this is Russ's first week experiencing the new schedule.
Well, I had credits built up on Viator from when I was in Asia that were going to expire next month. So, of course, having been a tour guide, there are very few tours I could take that would not be a complete waste of my time. Right. However, I've always wanted to take this tour because I didn't specialize in it. I don't know a lot about it. I did a Fifth Avenue Mansions tour that was very cool. Took you into some interiors. I honestly am embarrassed to say I never set foot in. All the years I was a guide, the French embassy, which used to be a mansion there. You go inside there. I knew it was the old Carnegie Mansion, but I never set foot in the lobby of Cooper Hewitt Museum, where you have a beautiful staircase there from the original mansion. So I did that, and then yesterday I went to set up an appointment for my first ever colonoscopy, which is very exciting.
I think you're gonna have a great time. I've had 3 of them.
That's what Keaton told. That's why I decided to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was a little jealous because it was so clear how much fun Keaton had.
It's like a day at the spa, basically.
Yeah, that's what he says.
You
yeah.
go in, you lay down, they give you the little sleeping because it's not full anesthesia. You know, I had surgery on my back. I had a growth in my back that, thank God, was benign. But you know that they knock you out. That's the real anesthesia, where they put the thing in your mouth so you can breathe. Like that. That's not good. I would not recommend that. But no, the colonoscopy is amazing. They give you this. They put this little sleeping shit in your IV, and you kind of feel yourself falling asleep.
You see Benny Johnson as you're falling off.
Benny Johnson. It's
you wake up there, you got a little pain there.
Yeah. You feel yourself falling asleep. It's very peaceful. It's very, very nice. And then you wake up like an hour later, and they come and they tell you, you know, unfortunately, you have 5 years to live, and then you go home.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
You know?
That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy. It's not bad.
No, honestly, I didn't do it. I was going to do it a few years ago. And when they told me you had to drink a gallon, I was like, you know what? My ass feels fine. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Then I found out they don't make you do that anymore. I was like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I got to drink like 2 10-ounce bottles.
Yeah. Those, I mean, I did Gatorade and, what's the over-the-counter laxative they give you? I forget. I'm going blank on it. I told you yesterday. I forget what the name of it is. The powder laxative, basically, with like a gallon of Gatorade. So yeah, it was not that bad for me. So yeah, I think you will. I think you'll have a good time. I'm happy for you. Miralax, that's it, Jesse. Miralax, that's it. Thank you.
I should really push back the appointment so that I'm recovering from it when we do the show on Thursday. Yeah.
My last one I had, it was fairly recently. It was less than a year ago, and it was on a Wednesday, which means I was prepping for it on a Tuesday when we did the show.
Literally shit. You know what I just realized?
What?
We're doing the show on Tuesday next week.
Yeah, we are doing Tuesday next week. Yeah.
I got to reschedule this to Thursday.
Yeah,
I made it Tuesday because we usually.
Oh, yeah. There you go. All right. Well, there you go.
Never mind. Reprieve. I get a couple extra. I get a couple extra days without my ass bleeding.
No, it's no bleeding. It's a very peaceful,
process. It is when Benny gets in.
Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is when it's not when he does it. Yeah. All right.
It's a good thing I realized that.
Yeah, see, it's a good thing we had this banter. Otherwise, that would have been a big problem. We're at 789 to start things off. Thanks everybody for being here. 258 strong in the Rumble chat. Please do smash that like button, and please do smash that subscribe button and or that follow button over on Rumble. All right, let's get into some news. So it was election day on Tuesday. More primaries now. Every week you're getting big primaries, and surprising results all around. Actually, lots of unexpected results here. MAGA loyalist Mike Lindell loses his primary race for the governor of Minnesota. Yes, the MyPillow CEO ended up falling short by quite a bit, which was really surprising to me. I really thought he was the sleeper in the race. I felt very strongly about that. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not just saying that to fluff him up. No, I really thought he was the sleeper. That's not fluff. But it's possible there was just a lot of Trump fatigue, among voters. But if he dares to dream, maybe he'll run next time. So Mike Lindell coming up short, although he is now insisting that there were some sort of shenanigans. He's refusing to concede, blah, blah, blah. But that's on the Republican side. Yeah. Yeah, the more relevant discussion is, of course, on the Democratic side in Wisconsin. Francesca Hong defeated by David Crowley for the gubernatorial primary in Wisconsin, and this was a real shock. The betting markets had this 90+% for Hong. So Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley has won the Democratic nomination for governor of Wisconsin. according to a race call by the Associated Press. He narrowly defeated State Representative Francesca Hong, a Democrat socialist campaign had challenged the party establishment. Crowley had at one point actually suspended his floundering campaign, facing low poll ratings and scarce campaign funds, but he relaunched it days later with the backing of outgoing Democratic Governor Tony Evers in an effort to turn back the momentum by Hong. Yeah, when Crowley dropped out, it was between Hong and this guy named Mandela Barnes, and then he dropped out, so Crowley got back in with the incumbent governor's endorsement, and turns out he won very narrowly, but he won. So Nathan Robinson had some commentary on this. He says, totally inexcusable that Bernie and AOC failed to back Hong. If she loses narrowly, which she did, it will be a major setback for the socialist movement that they will bear major responsibility for. He goes on, I can't believe people are really talking about AOC as a left presidential contender when on the eve of a critical primary, she decided to produce a totally irrelevant news story about her parenting choices instead of backing the socialist. Bernie and AOC,
it's really not irrelevant to the male population to know when AOC is ovulating. I think a lot of us want to know that.
Or on the market, as it turns out. She's back on the market. Well, maybe irrelevant to Nathan Robinson, but that's your problem. Bernie and AOC are directly responsible for Hong's loss. Instead of making the case for democratic socialist politics and getting more service workers like herself into office, AOC threw Hong under the bus as, quote, crazy woke one. Bernie pretended he didn't know her, which we'll get to in a minute. He then wrote an article, wrote about how Hong was abandoned by important figures in the socialist movement right as she was poised to make history, and why in the future we should help our fellow socialists rather than deeming them unelectable and purposefully tanking their candidacies. And somebody responded to him, provably unelectable, and they brought up an old tweet of hers, birthing bodies have the right to freedom. Deciding if or when to become a parent is one of the most personal, blah, blah, blah. The point there being birthing bodies. Yeah, people seem to be learning that you really can't talk like that if you want to communicate to ordinary people. Just say women. That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. If a guy in a mustache and big tits comes up and says, well, what about me? Say, I wasn't talking about you. Okay, relax. You be who you are. That's great. Congratulations. Leave me alone. That's it. That's it. It's as simple as that. And I think people are starting to learn that these kinds of things do make you unelectable. Because when you talk like this, what you're communicating, it's not like, I don't care that you talk like it. It doesn't bother me. It never has, really. But what you are communicating to the population is that you're more concerned with belonging to your in-group of people who know that lingo than you are with communicating ideas to the average person. And that's why you lose them, right? It's a signal that you don't seek to be part of the overall community. You seek to signal your belonging with a niche in-group. Not good. Believe me, not good.
Yeah,
now, Bernie,
Glenn, I'm going to use a little bit of his article in my segment on AOC. But he did a whole segment about the woke one thing. He did a whole article on it. And one of the things he called out that drives me nuts is the folks thing. Oh, my God. Wait, would you just walk out of a tobacco patch? Like, what the folks?
Yes.
Folks with the X. Oh, my God. People hate that. They hate it.
So here's Bernie Sanders, who just, came up with a different reason, I guess, for not backing Francesca Hong. He just says, we don't want to overextend ourselves and promise more than we can provide. Here he is on Sam Cedar's show.
Calculate, where are you going to place endorsements and where not? I mean, we just had Francesca Hong lose by a hair in Wisconsin, and, impossible to know, exactly whether an endorsement from you or AOC would make a difference. But how do you and I keep using the example of that game Risk, which I played as a kid, where, you don't move to Kamchatka until you have enough on Irkutsk or something. How do you calibrate that?
That's a good question. And
Irkutsk,
it's something that we in our political movement think about a whole lot. I think for a start, we don't want to overextend ourselves and promise more than we can provide. So we take, and second of all, I am a United States Senator. Am I familiar with the agricultural problems facing farmers in Wisconsin? I am not. Do I know something about what's going on nationally? I do.
Do I know who this Francesca Hong character was? I did not. She called me asking me for an endorsement, and I assumed there was some sort of data breach at the Panda Express at the LaGuardia Airport. So I immediately hung up and then called and had all my credit cards canceled, and I never heard back from her. That was the last I ever heard of her, so I apologize. I was not aware she was running for governor.
So for a start, most of our focus, with a few exceptions, has been on U.S. Senate races, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, maybe elsewhere. In congressional races, a lot of congressional races. Also, we have supported dozens and dozens of what we call down ballot candidates, people running literally for school board, city council, mayor, state legislature. Why are we doing that? And that is to create, in a sense, a farm team. These are the young people who 10, 20 years from now will be national leaders. And we want to help them get elected, get the experience that they need. And then furthermore, when we look at a campaign, for example, you got wonderful victories that took place in mayor's races in Seattle, Washington, D.C. We were not involved in those races. So we can't do everything. But what we do, we want to do well and give the kind of support to those candidates that they may need. That's kind of the answer. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense to you. Yeah. No, I'm sure that does make a lot of sense to you. It's obviously a bullshit answer. The real answer is because she couldn't win. I mean, that's what I think the real answer is. I think they didn't want to take a chance on a candidate who was likely to lose.
Right.
Because I think she was very likely to lose. And this is part of why. So this is, what's her name? Caitlin Collins asking her about these old cancel Thanksgiving tweets.
Positions that he keeps highlighting and, obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef. And
There's
one
the
of
folks.
the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7, 8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
Francesca Hong, thank you for joining us. We hope to have you back on, depending on how things go next week in your primary.
All right.
And the sad thing is she worked on that with her team and rehearsed it.
I know. Well, I helped her with that. I borrowed from my MyPillow routine. Yeah.
You were one of those folks.
Yeah, it's one of those folks. Exactly. Yeah. Well, given how things would go the following week, it turns out it was Crowley who was invited back to answer the question, hey, what do you think of Thanksgiving? This is the level of political discourse that passes for news on mainstream media here.
I have to ask, where do you stand on Thanksgiving?
I like Thanksgiving. My favorite dish is dressing.
Okay. Mr. David Crowley.
Chicken dressing for my sister-in-law.
Okay, well, your sister-in-law is going to be happy with that answer.
Yes, there you go. See, look at that, folks. He loves Thanksgiving. His favorite dish is dressing. There you go.
So a fembot and Urkel walked into a bar.
Yeah. I like Thanksgiving. I like football. In fact, I don't know why they changed the name of the Washington Redskins. I like that name better. I think they should change it back. You know, really running away from peak woke there. Now, of course, the questions that nobody really wants to litigate in the mainstream media when they don't have to are, questions like these. So here is David Crowley answering a much more important question, what he thinks about Thanksgiving, about our tax system and demands from the base that we tax the rich more.
Our tax structure, but, it's about bringing people to the table. We have to look at this system holistically and not just saying tax the rich. And the reason why I say that is taxing the rich going to give us everything that we need. Are there other revenue opportunities outside of the income tax that we should be looking at to make sure the resources are available?
Do you worry that a higher tax rate on wealthy Wisconsinites could cause them to potentially move to another state where the tax rate is lower then, or?
Well, as I understand, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers have already left the state, so I don't know which wealthy Wisconsinites you're actually talking about, but let's
I think that's always a possibility.
Always a possibility. Okay. All right. It's always a
People
possibility.
always
Fair
talking
enough.
about how that hasn't happened in New York City, but this is Wisconsin. We don't have a lot to keep people here.
yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Our cheese isn't even that great, but for some reason we're known for it. So Ryan Knight tweets out here, Francesca Hong says her first move as governor would be to call for a special legislative session to stop data centers. This is exactly why she's going to win. That was tweeted out on election day. So his prediction did not come true, but the sentiment there, of course, data centers, I believe, are more important than what you think about Thanksgiving. Let's hear Francesca Hong on that.
What would be the first thing you would want to do as governor? Is there any one thing that you would want to do as governor?
We want to make sure that we're calling in a special session for the legislation on the moratorium of data centers.
And what do you say to Democrats unsure about what democratic socialism is? What's your pitch to them, and how do you define democratic socialism?
Government that puts people first, where we have our local governments funded. They can fix potholes. They can make sure that we have great schools. The things that we are fighting for, universal child care, the fully funding public schools. Today is the day that the Green Bay Packers were founded, a publicly owned NFL team. I think that Wisconsin has a proud history of progressivism, and the policies that we are fighting for honor that, but more importantly, they honor working class people who should be first in government.
Okay, so what happened, by the way?
That kid looks white adjacent. Is that her son?
Is that a white said that she's in close proximity to whiteness there at that answer, right?
Literally, yeah.
So what happened here? Because, the polling was way off, just like it was way off in Michigan. Now, Abdul El Sayed eked out a narrow victory in Michigan, whereas she suffered a narrow defeat. But the polling for primary races is atrocious, by the way. They had Hong winning by 20 points. The generic ballot polling is more favorable to Republicans, says Woman Definer. Wonder who she's voting for. Then polling is showing off right now. There's a 10 to 20 point miss going on, with Democratic voters. Now, the counterpoint to that here from Rich Barris is the polling misses in Michigan and Wisconsin were due to larger turnout for Democrats than those pollsters projected. Republicans have a lower turnout than expected. That would suggest that the generic ballot is overstating Republicans, not understating them. But, Fox News wanted to spin this as a victory for Republicans, even though they were, of course, very excited against Francesca Hong. Here is Laura Ingraham doing her best to spin this as good news for her team.
Ecstatic today. They'd be crowing about the coming socialist wave in November. That's the future. Hong's defeat discourages the left. It discourages the press. It discredits the polls, and it shows that most Democrats do not actually hate their country, no matter what the left and the media want allies to believe.
They don't hate their country. Well, that's really off-brand of you to say.
News.
Yeah, that is big news. That is breaking news on Fox. But the here see that live in the. I'd like to thank Laura and MAGA for their preemptive strikes on Hong prior to the election. Thanks. Now we have a much more electable candidate for governor. Rose Benson says, sorry, Laura, we all know you're faking this segment. And Carlos Hoffman says, this is why Neera Tandons of the world are schmucks who should be banished from politics. It doesn't matter who wins for Democrats. These MAGA bozos always play heads or tails with heads I win, tails you lose. Now, for what it's worth, the betting markets were not worth much in the Shama Adam Smith race. I suspect that's because that was a lower profile race with much fewer bets being placed. But you look at that, the Wisconsin governor's race, the odds of a Republican victory were pretty high until this primary went the other way. And now, for whatever this is worth, Democrats strongly favored to win this seat. So
I don't know. My experience with these betting markets is limited, but it seems like they're kind of worthless.
Well,
seems like it's just about whatever bet six people with money pile into.
I mean, I think it depends on the race. I think it depends on how many bets there are. I mean, I don't think it does. I know it does. Like, like rich people, like high rollers' ability to influence the markets really depend on how many bets are being placed race to race. But yeah, conventional wisdom, according to, the geniuses in the mainstream press, is that this Crowley guy is the more electable candidate. He couldn't get to the final two without a boost from the governor. He literally dropped out of the race. But, look, for me, when I look at Abdul El Sayed, I say that's a 50-50 proposition. Because Abdul El Sayed doesn't have these quotes like, cancel Thanksgiving in his past. And he is a particularly, I think, talented politician. He's not a generational talent. He's not a Mamdani. He's not an Obama, but he's pretty good. Like he's a guy you could trust him with the ball. You feel comfortable giving him the ball. Hong, I don't think they had any reason to feel comfortable giving her the ball. I think there was just too much from the peak woke era in her past, and she just wasn't very good. Like that video I showed you of Caitlin Collins asking her about Thanksgiving, she just seems flat. I don't think she was likely to win. I think she was likely to lose. So do I think it's this horrible betrayal by the progressives for not endorsing her? No, because I think she was likely to lose. They don't want to sandbag themselves with a loser, and they don't want for that loser to be a drag on other candidates, particularly El Sayed, who's right next door in a very similar ad market. And so, to me, I don't think it's a great tragedy that she lost. I don't think she'd have won. Like, this is, I think, that what's going on here. I think for many years, the left became so accustomed to losing that they were able to just conduct themselves as if they were never going to win anything anyway, and so they were never really accountable for what they said. Because you could just say whatever you want if you're never going to win anyway. Now you're in a situation where not only can you win, you have to win. Like, these are considered must-win races in the Midwest. Don't forget, the Medicaid cuts as part of the big, beautiful bill have not hit yet. So starting next year, you're going to have real devastating cuts to healthcare for low-income people. And the difference between a governor who is going to facilitate those cuts and make them more painful than they have to be, and a governor who's going to do what they can to shield the population from the consequences of those cuts, that's a big difference. These are must-win races. This is not a fucking game at this point. And once you get to a position where you have the ability to win a race, you actually have to conduct yourself like you're serious about winning. And she was not serious about winning. She was a loser. She's a loser. She lost. She lost the primary. I mean, that should tell you everything. That they were able to resurrect a dead candidate and beat her in a primary. She wasn't ready for prime time. Look, I'm sure she'd have been a better governor than this guy or than her GOP rival. This guy is a hack. She's talking about a data center moratorium. On that point alone, I think she'd have been a better governor. Doesn't matter if you can't win. And I don't think she could have won. And that's ultimately the bottom line. Like, I think in Michigan, it's different. In Michigan, and this is why I think it was important to do what the abandoned Harris people did in Michigan, to boycott the Kamala Harris ticket. Because in Michigan, they laid down the law. They're like, you run a pro-Israel AIPAC stooge, we will actively organize against the ticket and we will sink you in this state. That made Haley Stevens the toxic, unelectable one in Michigan. Right. Not that Abdul's a guarantee. I don't think he is. But the people made clear in Michigan, you cannot run a pro-Israel candidate and expect to win this state. Wisconsin, there is not the big Arab and Muslim voting bloc that there is in Michigan. It's a much more uncertain case, and you have a much less talented politician with, frankly, a much more cringe background than Abdul El-Sayed as it pertains to all of this birthing bodies bullshit, which matters to people. I don't like that it matters to people. I wish it didn't. Russell used to do all these culture war segments, and I would sit here like, all right, let's hear it, because I personally don't care. I really don't. I honestly don't. I don't care what you think about Thanksgiving. I understand why some people think you should cancel Thanksgiving. But you know what? You're in America. Once again, America is Israel. I said this on the last show. You got to think of America as Israel plus, 170 years, whatever the math is. Imagine running for office in Israel saying, you know what? We should not celebrate Israeli Independence Day because Palestinians, that's the Nakba Day. And a lot of horrible things were done to them. And it's very painful for them. And so we should just cancel that holiday and not celebrate it. You'd be correct. You'd be 100% correct on the merits. I would say you're 1,000% right on the merits. You'd have 0% chance of winning. You could never win if you say that. And for a long time, the left didn't have to make any of these considerations because they were never going to win anyway. Now that you're going to win, if you play your cards right, you have to play your cards right. And that really sucks. And that could be reason to just not engage with the electoral process at all. I respect that choice. But if you're going to engage in the major leagues, you have to play to win. And she wasn't ready to win. And so she lost. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Someone was saying in the chat, Keaton should really be a political consultant. He has the passion. Now, hey, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I promise you, if either myself or Keaton had been consultants on that campaign, the first thing we would have advised her to do would have been to make a turducken for the community, right?
Yeah.
That would have been the way to get out from that. Make a big turducken and say, I'm going to do this every Thanksgiving as governor.
Exactly.
That's how much I love Thanksgiving. I'm going to stuff a bird inside a bird inside a bird.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. She would have gotten right because the whole conversation would have turned to, do you like turducken? Do you hate turducken? Is that excessive? Right. Would have taken all the focus off of these tweets.
That's called the pivot.
If anyone running for office out there is watching, call us. Yeah. We're available to give you nuggets like this. I don't want to step too much on the AOC woke one. So I will just say, this is why I say being an activist is it's a Cassandra gig, man. It's a Cassandra gig. And a lot of times, even when you're an activist within the left, telling the left, guys, shut the fuck up. This is not going to work. You still wind up being a Cassandra because it takes 4 or 5 years for them to come around to what you were absolutely eligible for cancellation for saying. We were saying that when we were starting out as a show. It was dangerous back then. You didn't know if YouTube was going to pull you off for doing an anti-woke segment. Particularly, I did a lot of segments about the gender ideology, and that was a very cancelable offense online at that time. We both had jobs where people could have come after us. But hey, I had the theory back then, and I think time has proven it correct. I don't believe that most people on the left believe this. I believe it's a very small number of voices that are getting elevated in the media who believe this. I don't believe most people believe this. And no, most people don't. And that's why it was always inevitable. This day was going to come. And when we would do these culture war segments that Keaton would bristle at, I would always argue, and so did Keaton. This is going to pass. And all these people are going to run away from the shit that they're saying now. They're all going to be, we said that, they're going to be deleting these tweets. Right. They're going to be trying to pretend I was never with these guys. I cannot tell you how many segments we said this was going to happen in.
Right.
And now we're here. And you still have some of these schmucks running around talking about, which we'll kind of get into in the other segments. Oh, you're throwing folks under the bus. Hey, shut the fuck up, man. Did you ever actually talk to any of these folks that you purport to stand for? Because they don't like that shit either. I've lived in Harlem for almost 20 years. I've never heard anyone say they were adjacent to whiteness. I've never heard anyone talk like that in Harlem, ever.
Russ's neighbor is literally adjacent to whiteness, and he's never heard him say it.
No,
Yeah.
not once.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, this is, and again, I don't want to step on the next segment. We'll do more of an overall analysis of this there, but this is a lot of people defining themselves as the left who are espousing ideas that are helpful to workers only because the opportunities for their class have dried up. And so now they share the concerns of workers. You can see that very clearly in the fact that they don't recruit workers. Do you see them going out to Amazon fulfillment centers and doing organizing drives? No, because they don't like people like that. They don't want Chris Smalls around. They really don't. They really don't. Because if they did, how do you know a thing? By what it does. They'd be soliciting people like that. Why don't they want those people? Because the folks with an X shit is actually where they live. And they know these people don't.
Of course.
They're privileged enough that they can have those kinds of politics while hiding behind the groups that they purport to speak for, that they actually don't really want anything to do with, which you can see very clearly by their actions. And we have a lot of history of this, where this is a case where I would argue these bourgeois elites are not even really allying with the working class. But in the past, when that has happened, when shit got serious enough that the workers started making redistributive demands, they always wind up siding with the elites because their property rights are threatened. And they're in a position where that is relevant to them, whereas the workers they ally with usually have nothing to lose. The bourgeois have something to lose. So the critique a lot of people are making about how in the end, you're not going to get a real reform of the system from these people, I would never disagree with that. I think we both agree with that wholeheartedly. The question is, okay, you brought up healthcare, right? You can't deny, and I wouldn't take back my vote, but my vote for Jill Stein rather than Kamala Harris was strategic. It was aimed at breaking the libs to a point that you could get some left policy through, and you could get some opposition to the genocide in Gaza in office. That was the purpose. And that is why I'm not on board with just absolutely rejecting any candidate who seems to have resulted from that choice. At the same time, you have to take some responsibility for the millions of people that are losing health care. Like, you know, it sounds great on paper to say there's no difference. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, I'll grant you, Trump 2.0 is worse than any of us thought it was going to be. I mean, some of us did, particularly the libs, ironically enough. But I mean, most of us outside of that didn't think it was going to be this bad. We thought 1.0 was going to be the model. It was going to be Mitt Romney with mean tweets again. It's not that. I would still vote the same way because it was strategic. It's not personal. It's not emotional. I don't care for the Democrats. I don't stay up nights losing my shit about Democrats either. How can I do the most good? How can I help the most people? And you have got to understand, as I do, that you have some responsibility for the millions of people who are going to lose health care because of the way you voted. I voted that way. I'm not accusing it. I voted that way.
Right.
I would do it again. I would do it again. But you have to acknowledge that's an ends justify the means choice. And you have to think about your politics and your political decisions in that way. And if you are going to sacrifice people's well-being in that way, you'd better be very clear about what the ends are that those means are aimed at and whether they are at all achievable. and in the interest of something that is absolutely not on the table, no, I can't see you costing millions of people healthcare. And a million tweets are not going to change any reasonable person's mind about that. All you do is make people hate the left more. You fuel the whole Fox News crazy cuckoo leftist thing when you're running around saying people don't need healthcare, they need revolution. You can't. I mean, you can, but it's not productive, and it's not going to get you where you're trying to go.
Yeah. And generally speaking, it's the poorest communities
right
in the country that vote for harm reduction, and they are often the ones most vulnerable to exploitation by guys like James Clyburn, Richie Torres, right? These are corporate poor Democrats who preside over very poor districts, but you notice it's very hard to unseat them. Why? Because as much as you may look at communities like that and say, what do they have to lose? They'll tell you they have everything to lose. They have their families to lose. They have their kids to lose. Right? They have fucking everything to lose.
As we'll get into, their safety to lose.
Right? Yeah. They don't compare their living situation to your imaginary revolution that you talk about online all day.
Right.
They weigh their living situation over what it could be if the bottom completely falls out. Now, you want to lament that dynamic? That's a lamentable dynamic, but nobody is in a position to chide or lecture these people about those choices. And if you're a representative, to boil what Russ said, which I co-sign 100%, to boil that down into this context, the question is, can you win the goddamn thing or can you not? And to Nathan Robinson, no, it's not on the left to be better about supporting anyone who says they're for X. No, you got to support people who prove they can do it.
Right.
And if they can't do it, then you can't go all in. No, do I think it would have been a great idea to be litigating fucking Thanksgiving for the next 80 days heading into a very high stakes midterm? No, I do not. No, I do not. And I'm sure she's a lovely person, but the fact of the matter is, not only was that in her past, she did a shitty job explaining it away. She did a shitty job moving on from it. Mamdani's got a lot of shit in his past. You notice he can move on from it like that because he's a pro.
He's got skills.
He's a winner. He's a winner. This lady, all due respect, I'm sure she's a lovely person. She's not a winner. She's not a winner, and so she didn't win. And it's that simple. All right. Let's you want to do some
Turducken, man.
Yeah.
Turducken would have turned that whole race around.
Next time.
Michael Castillo. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Please make sure you wish Jimmy and Steph a happy wedding anniversary. Free Palestine. We are all Persia's. Today their wedding anniversary?
Oh, is it?
How did you know that?
Congratulations. Oh, congratulations.
Me shoot skeet. Super sticker. Thank you. Satanica. Love from Bahrain. Caught a student yesterday taking pictures of a quiz I was disseminating and had to cancel the quiz. What say you of his judgment, Judge Weiss?
Caught a student yesterday. I'm sorry. Go one more time.
He caught a student cheating, basically taking a picture of a quiz he was going to distribute.
Right.
And he wound up having to cancel the quiz.
Oh, I mean that kid is a hero.
He's a well, now there's because of your antagonism to education.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
He's a good kid.
Yeah,
good kid. Ghost Strick Alucard. Hong gone, but not forgotten. Oh,
our chemistry. Yeah, that's funny. Our chemistry teacher in high school was prone to these long monologues, and so if we knew we were going to have a quiz, like a quick quiz at the end of class, we used to sometimes just start asking him questions, knowing he would go on so long. Run out of time. And
I had a teacher like that. You would ask him, why is the Earth tilted on its axis? Yeah. And you had the rest of the class to just read.
Yeah, and sometimes we'd fuck with him, to the point where like he knew we were baiting him. Like one time, as he's going to hand out the quiz, one of my classmates says, "So what's air made out of?" What's fire? What is fire? Anyway, yeah.
Brad Gilbert, WTF? You take Kamchatka to prevent North America conquer, idiot. Yeah, this guy's never played Risk. Sam
Yeah.
Cedar. You know what? We ever run into him,
You should
we're
challenge
going
him
to
to a game of
challenge him to
Risk.
Risk for money.
Yeah.
If that's how he plays Risk, we'll clean up. Virtuoso. These jive turkeys from Wisconsin aren't available for communism with Panda Express sensibilities. They're lost. Darius King, what did Hong mean by Thanksgiving is hurtful for her community if she's not Native American, is she? Yeah, well, being Asian and a woman, she has 2 infinity stones of wokeness.
Right.
And then her proximity to whiteness kind of makes it 1.5, I guess.
Right.
Know? Obese dragon. But you notice how all the woke bitches, man, are all married to white dudes or dating white dudes. AOC just got rid of her daywalker, but that guy was glow in the dark. That freaking she had herself a ginger. Doesn't get whiter than that.
That guy's gonna be shacking up with Hong soon.
He's gonna be or Eric Swalwell, maybe.
Yeah.
Guy gets around. Obese dragonfly. I'm all for jokes, but you guys crossed the line when you dissed Wisconsin's cheese.
A little close to home there.
Stray cat in the streets. Birthing person defeated by Wisconsin white folks. You guys are funny today. Brad Gilbert, Keaton quoting Trump. She's a loser. She lost.
Losers can't win.
Yeah. Losers can't win. It's true. It's true. Matt from Wisconsin. I work in a factory in the central part of the state. Not one person here isn't turned off by woke lib language. It's exactly how you lose elections. Well, this is why I say it's an op. I got into that a lot with Joel, man. His book's back there. Check it out. It's an op. I don't believe that society, I don't even believe that academia organically generated critical theory. I mean, I believe it was organically generated. I don't believe the signal was boosted like that organically. You got a lot of crackpot academics with a lot of crackpot theories that are not useful to the establishment that you're never going to hear about. Why did they elevate that? Because they were looking for a way to destroy class consciousness within the left. And it worked. It worked. Look at these people, and they still want to litigate this, as we will see.
Right. Exactly. All right, let's take some Rumble rants over here. Vienticus, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Thanks, Vienticus. Ex-Barbarian, holy shit, yes, Tuck is likely an op, just the same. Check out his Goy Slop show from last night. Really? And wrecked some stuff nicely. Thanks, KNR, Forever DD. Thank you, Ex-Barbarian. Yeah, he should have called his 10-point plan the Goy Slop Manifesto. His 10-point
did he lay out a 10-point plan?
Yeah.
I mean, with the meeting they had.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was, it was vague. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's more to come.
What can we do to bring down the cost of mayonnaise? There are a lot of white families that have enjoyed devil's eggs for generations that can no longer afford to make them at family gatherings.
Yeah. You guys see there's a movie coming out about Chris Hansen with Robert Pattinson, and Michael Tracy's going to lose his mind. No, I did not. I did not see that. Thank you. My last colonoscopy, they gave me fentanyl. That was nice. Mr. Measy, are we getting the colonoscopy video on Russ on the Road channel? Yeah, ask the guy for the tape.
Yeah.
I think you can get the tape. I think you can get it. I think they'll give it to you. I never asked for it.
I'll play that with Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think they'd give it to you if you asked them. I don't know. I never asked them. I'm not that vain. I wasn't knocked out last time I went for a colonoscopy. My body builds quick resistance to that kind of stuff. Some people don't sleep through the whole thing. Some people are just like in a daze. I fell asleep all 3 times.
They wake up. The place I'm going is very close to Epstein's mansion. I might wake up there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Howard Lutnick next to you when you wake up.
Go back to sleep. You're dreaming.
So I got good news and bad news. The good news is you're cancer free. And that's about all I got in terms of good news. Oh, you mean the guy that was addicted to crack and thought Jesus Christ called him one time on his landline? That Mike Lindell he lost, you don't say. That's right. Furrows Queen, who's in New York City this December to meet me for brunch? DMB at MSG
November.
for 2 nights. I've never known anyone so excited about a colonoscopy than Keaton. It's an exit, not an entrance. Oh, you're coming to New York, Furrows Queen? That's awesome. That's awesome.
I should be. I should be in New York.
There you go. Awesome.
DMB. What's that? What's that?
Dave Matthews playing at Madison Square Garden, I guess,
see.
right?
I
So you're coming in for the concert. That's cool. That'll be fun. All right. You want to move right on along here?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Hey, remember this young whippersnapper? This video was put out in 2018 when AOC was running for her first term. It was put out by Justice Democrats. Here's a little clip of her thoughts on being a multi-term congresswoman.
Realize that the most powerful position you can be in is when you are not materially attached to a position of power. If you're a one-term Congress member, so what? You can make 10 years worth of change in one term if you're not afraid.
Yep.
Or you can make 1 term's worth of change in 10 years if
not even.
You want to make more money. Right.
Or you can make absolutely
Or
no
you
change
can make no
at
change.
all in your entire career.
You can make no
Your
change in 50
8-year
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
in 50 years, and then you'll be a lot richer.
Question everything. Grassroots bartender, my ass. AOC has been a manufactured, controlled op from day one. Only the most brainwashed are still falling for this act. Well, you know who is going for her act? To a lot of people's surprise, and not to a lot of other people's surprise, Nancy Pelosi. Remember, AOC started her tenure in Congress by protesting in Nancy Pelosi's office. Who was that? Was that with the Sunrise Movement? It was with like a climate change organization, as I recall.
Yeah, some kind of climate thing.
So here's Eddie Liger, our friend that we're going to interview soon. Now that we have time, I'm working on my China piece. A lot of people ask when you're going to have Eddie on. I want to have him on after I do my China piece. It might be unrealistic, but that's the theory. AOC abandoned her fellow Democratic Socialist in Wisconsin so she would get praise from the queen of insider trading and corporate fundraising. This is what the Democratic Party does to a motherfucker. Now we just did a whole thing litigating Wong's past woke statements, but you know what? She ain't a pimple on the ass of AOC's past woke statements. So it's pretty funny for that to get in the way, unless you're just a careerist, which she kind of is. So here's Pelosi, who they were having a whole feud, the green, whatever it's called, right? Absolutely couldn't stand AOC.
That she has been so operational and it's just wonderful. I know it's a joy to work with her, and I think most members think that, and certainly Hakeem.
And by the way, there's no higher praise in the Nancy Pelosi dictionary or anti-issues for that matter than operational. You say operational, that is high praise for Nancy Pelosi, believe you me.
Look at her face. Look at her lips.
What fresh hell is this? Okay, so AOC started busting some moves this past week that raised a lot of eyebrows, and a lot of people are interpreting as setting up a run for president, like freezing her eggs.
Don't be weird about this, even though I know all of you will be.
How about you not be weird about this? I think filming this is kind of being weird about it, no? Like you could just do it.
That wasn't so bad.
Okay. I mean, you know what, man? I'm not going to go at her for that. There are a lot of women who, at this point, because it's better for capital, not because they cared about, not because the corporations cared about women. It's better for them to have everybody in the workforce. So they promoted women's careers. And I do not mean by that women should not have careers. I think it's just as good if the man stays home. I think it's better if somebody's home with the kids. Somebody, I don't think it matters who. But yeah, man, they want everybody rootless and having their first loyalty be to their job and corporations. So a lot of women are in this position. So I'm not going to go at her for representing that reality to a lot of women. But you know what she did right after? Boom. Got rid of the day walker.
And listen, before we go any further, it's egg freezing person, not woman. Egg freezing person.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. Just, you know.
I
let it slide the first 10 times, but you know, it really got to me after that.
Fair enough. All right. So she got rid of her creepy ginger fiance here. Here's a little bit about this.
Has confirmed that AOC and her fiance Riley Roberts have split. If you've noticed, she's been talking about freezing her eggs and has not mentioned Riley Roberts at all. And according to Puck, it turns out AOC and Roberts split about 2 years ago.
With that guy, I'm
Multiple
surprised she
sources
even
on
has
Capitol
eggs.
Hill tell TMZ it feels like forever.
I mean, I am not surprised that they split 2 years ago because I've been joking for a while that she bit his head off like a praying mantis.
Yeah, it's true. We haven't
Because
seen
I haven't
seen
seen.
him.
When was the last time you saw this guy? Like when she moved to Washington. That was the last time I remember seeing this guy.
Yeah.
Since the couple has been spotted publicly together. That's definitely not a hyperbole. This photo was taken at the 2021 Met Gala, which was the last time the pair were photographed together. And then after this, about a year later, in May of 2022, AOC confirms that they were engaged. Even though we can say for certain they are broken up, we don't know exactly when the split happened. We reached out to AOC's rep and they had no comment.
Christopher Nolan should have cast that guy as Agamemnon.
Yeah. Now this story's kind of crazy. They were together from 2011.
Yeah.
They were together a long time, man. They were together 11 years before they even got engaged. And then it looks like the engagement might have forced the issue of staying together, as it sometimes does. Now, sometimes a picture says 1,000 words. Now, for me, this picture says 1,000 words. This was from a few months ago. She hates that motherfucker. Look at her face. She hates that guy. Whatever went on with them, that is the look of a woman. As a man who's cultivated that look from a few women, I can tell you, she fucking hates that guy with a passion, man. And in fact, she kind of spilled the beans a little bit. You know she did because she wound up pulling it down after she dropped it. But, you know, the internet is forever. Mario Nawful. AOC threw shade at her ex in a now deleted story. She calls out men who push women to have kids young, saying they just want to rush you into a relationship with a loser. They were together for more than a decade and got together in 2022. She reportedly stopped wearing her engagement ring more than a year and a half ago.
Age, beautiful, like, love that for you. A lot of these people who pressure women into having kids at a young age or trying to create hysteria around being too old, etc., what they're trying to do is rush you into having a relationship with a loser. By a loser, I mean someone who doesn't respect women, someone who doesn't respect you, someone who doesn't treat you well, someone that doesn't support your growth as a human being.
Yeah, she hates that motherfucker. And to really confirm it, she drops a thirst trap video. Another translation. Look what you're not going to be getting anymore, Daywalker. All this. Look what you gave up. You gave up all this. AOC breaks up with her fiance, posts a video about freezing her 38-year-old eggs, then drops this thirst trap video today. A tale as old as time. We know how this ends.
I'm on my way to do my last strength training and lifting session, and let's go.
Yeah, that is what's the point of that? That was pure. Watch this walking away. Watch this walking away, Ginger.
That's right.
Now, Clavicular, Looks Maxer, influencer Clavicular weighed in on this, as did a lot of men. A lot of men are trying to pick up the pieces, be AOC's shoulder to cry on, catch her on the rebound. Clavicular says, I can fix her. So he was interviewed about what he would fix.
I don't cherish the fact that her relationship ended. I think that's a terribly unfortunate thing. But I certainly think that there's, you know, a lot that AOC can get from a relationship with myself. You know, I think we'd have a pretty good time. You know,
My IDF
I
gonorrhea
appreciate
is cleared
how
up more or less.
passionate she is about a lot of her issues. You know.
Clav, again, you use the word, and I think rightfully people are focusing on the word fix, which means there's something broken. So what is it that you see as being broken with AOC?
Oh, I just tweeted that for engagement.
Hey, you know,
I appreciate that.
I like
appreciate
that. Yeah, I like that.
But hey, man, he's not the only one trying to get in on that. If it ain't the old brother's widow fucker himself, Hunter Biden's trying to get AOC's attention with the old tried and true method of simpery.
That's
the other person that I think is in it for that reason is AOC. I look at her and I think that, and I see the future of the Democratic Party
Sing her a
in
song.
every
Take
way.
one of those guitars down.
I think that AOC, not only as a communicator, but as someone that can, that has an instinct to find common ground, that believes that in order for that we do have to have some kind of radical change, and that's not a radical thing to say. It's not a radical thing to say that the system is completely broken.
All right. Yeah, so that's his matchmaking video audition to be the successor to her daywalker fiance. But this is American Debunk that lays out the case for AOC, seemingly in all seriousness. I'm going to summarize AOC's week so you can finally understand why she's currently the Democrat frontrunner for 2028. 1, she filmed herself injecting fertility hormones and announced she's freezing her eggs. 2, she casually declared woke one was crazy. You should view this as a clean public break from the brand that made her famous. She's signaling growth and maturity by distancing herself from wokeness, and she's doing it without fully abandoning her tribe. That's news to them. 3, she allegedly split from her fiance. Well, that's confirmed now. 4, she's a career woman in her mid-30s. She's modeling the timeline's trade-offs and biological realities that define the millions of women in her generation. This alone is a winning combination on the left and resonates with most women. The word most is doing a lot of work there. They want validation that their path, delayed family. Can you take that down?
Oh, yeah. Oops, sorry. 1 second. There it is.
Delayed family, career first, personal autonomy, anxiety about the biological clock is seen and heard. This week, tens of millions of women in their 20s to 50s looked at AOC and saw themselves. No other prominent female Democrat currently occupies that lane and has her cultural reach. She knows how to get attention, has media fluency, and is authentic. She's representing the modern woman. You're looking at the current 2028 Democrat nominee. This is all I will say. All of that really depends on how dominant the libs still are as a force in Democratic primaries. Because everything he's laying out, yeah, man, I mean, that definitely appeals to the MS Now crowd. And I think she's effectively enough convinced them that she is a supplicant to Mama Bear for them to forgive her past indiscretions. So can she pick up a lot of the Hillbot vote, more than you would have expected back in the day? Yeah, maybe. I still don't think it's a compelling argument, but we'll get into that. So here's the critique that you're gonna see from a lot of people. Arame Ose Frimpong. AOC's problem is that she is ideologically unmoored. She can't cast herself as a pragmatist because she hasn't done anything. Yes. What has she done? What other than build up an enormous Instagram following? What has she done? She's a brand. She's a brand. She's branded herself very well. She can't cast herself as a thought leader because she isn't deep enough. Honestly, anyone who actually believes in anything would have to be crazy to join a movement led by her. We gave her the benefit of the doubt because she was young, pretty, and seemed transparent. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing that she's in Congress, but I can't imagine why anyone would trust her. She'll throw your cause under a bus that make you seem naive for believing that you wouldn't throw your cause under a bus. And then Blakely responded to this, accurate read. It's why I roll my eyes every time the left starts falling all over themselves about making her president. That's not the left, man. Like, I don't know anybody on the left who's like an AOC fan. Libs, she moved over to that base. Like, from the moment she called Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear on The View, she's been cultivating that as her new base. I don't think AOC is the worst, especially considering how bad our Congress is. She's certainly better than a lot of what's there, but you lose me when you start acting like she's someone who's going to lead a movement to the White House. She's already shown us over and over again that is simply not who she is. At a certain point, it's not even on her anymore. It's on you guys for continuing to project that onto her. But look, I think there's an angle here that they're both missing that Course Around really nails. Now that AOC is single, her path to the White House is obvious. She just needs to go up to each male voter, do a hair flip, lightly punch their shoulder, and say, I can count on your vote, right, big guy? +1 instantly, game over. Not even the most diehard forever Trumper could resist. Assuming this takes 10 seconds per undecided and ignoring travel time, this would only require 2,115 hours of ground game to flip all 7 swing states, assuming 2024 margins for simplicity. That's 132 days, assuming 8 hours of sleep. If she starts now, she'll have it locked up by Christmas. Yeah, that's the angle they're not picking up on. Okay, yeah, she is making these moves that clearly seem to be clearing up space for a run for president. Eggs frozen, check. Useless boyfriend who seems to seriously not like her. That's the impression I get from pictures. That picture of them at the gala, I felt like he doesn't like her. And by the time that last picture was taken, she doesn't like him. So she got him out of the way now. Doesn't have to run with him. Doesn't have to coordinate with him. She's running away from woke, which we'll see in the next segment. Yeah, it looks like she's preparing to run for president. And hey, devil's advocate, she's signaling to the libs. I think it really, her strength in a primary really depends how much the libs have been displaced. You also do have to take into account a lot of the DSA kind of left will go for her. It's not like she's not going to get any of them because of their betrayal. There will be quite a few of them who will want to back her as one of their own, and are going to set aside the inconsistency of her positions. So, yeah, I would entertain the idea that she might be more strong in a primary than is readily apparent. It depends how much the influence the MSNBC vote still has and how much the establishment is willing to forgive her for having expressed some kind of principles in the past. And it also depends, look, she's not consistent with any position she's ever taken. But you can't even say the words pro-Palestine and not have these people line up against you. So they're not the money people, the people who really make decisions in that party. They're not going to back her. Those morons will sooner get behind Kamala again than they're going to get behind AOC. Like, I get there's a certain kind of lib. I would say Hunter Biden represents that in what he's saying there, who likes the idea of AOC as a syncretic candidate that's going to bring together the new DSA young voters with the MSNBC mummies. But I don't think those politics are can be reconciled, particularly when you're talking about the APAC dimension. Maybe if you took that out of it, sure, but not with that. Not with that. Even as disappointing as she is on that subject, she's too extreme on that subject for them.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw the egg freezing, I almost felt bad for her because I'm like, if the only reason you're doing this is because you think you're going to be president until 2036, that's just sad. Like, have the kids now because you're not going to be president until 2036. She is not going to win a primary, in my opinion. I think it would be absolutely insane to nominate her. She's one of very few people who I would say would enter a race against Vance or Rubio as an odds-on underdog, a severe underdog. I don't think she could win a national race in the general. I think that's just an insane proposition. And so I was gonna say, this is really kind of it's really kind of too bad that she's freezing her eggs thinking she's going to be president. Turns out she's freezing her eggs because she wants to ditch the boyfriend, and you do have a biological clock. And so what are the odds of meeting another guy that you're going to have kids with before,
Right.
you think it's a good idea to freeze your eggs? So, sorry. So I get
I'm
freezing
just
your
going to
eggs.
say the rumor is that Hunter is hung like a bear.
Well, yeah, Hunter,
So.
I mean, Hunter's cum will shoot right through those frozen eggs. He don't fucking care. He'll melt those fucking eggs. That guy, that guy's like frozen eggs. Nah, that don't affect me. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. We're gonna have fucking triplets, even with fucking. You freeze your eggs for 50 years. I'll give you triplets out of those bitches. Yeah, no. So that is the we don't know. That's the unknown. That's the unknown. But yeah, no, I mean, she's not going to be president. That makes absolutely no sense. And look, the whole attitude. I mean, this gets more into cultural things and family things, but to what that one person wrote on Twitter about her being a modern woman, there is no one modern woman. There is no one archetype of a modern
a good point.
woman. Like, people overthink this shit, and I think particularly, self-involved narcissistic libs overthink this shit. Like, listen, not every societal convention is a plot to keep you down. The fact of the matter is, parenting is kind of a young person's game. Okay, I'm a father of 3. It's hard. Okay, it requires energy.
Yep.
Energy that you have in your youth, not when you're 50. If you go into parenting as an older person, that's really more a rich person's game when you can hire a night nurse,
hire the nanny,
right? Yeah, you hire a nanny, right? Exactly. So there are reasons why, like, it's good to have kids young if you want them and not wait until you're in your mid 40s, right? That's not a patriarchal plot to keep women down. That's just kind of a fact of life. And so if you want a family, have one. If you don't. And if you have to freeze your eggs. But it's not all, they're telling us not to do this because they want us to marry a loser. Like, look, I'm sorry, you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it, and that is born of a certain narcissism and a certain paranoia that is encouraged amongst the libs because they are very self-absorbed people who fancy themselves career people who want to make their imprint on the world. They want to go and conquer the world. You know what? Your kids are like, when you have kids, you understand, at least I do, they are your life's work. They are your life's work. They're the most important thing. And it requires a certain humility to enter into that kind of thing, because you do let go of a lot of yourself. Right. And that, to me, is part of the transcendent power of parenting. That's for me. Now, not everybody feels that way. And if you don't feel that way, you're probably better off not being a parent, because if you're too attached to yourself and what you're going to do and the mark you're going to leave, then you're not going to be able to give yourselves enough to someone else in that way. And she just strikes me as a fucking, liberal PMC narcissist, because that's what she is. And if that's her attitude, she's probably better off not having kids. I mean, it's not like, that's just me looking at it. It's not my business. If she wants to try it, good luck, wish you all the best. But that kind of attitude is just not conducive to being a parent or having a family. And The left needs to understand this. The fact that they lose a lot is connected to the fact that they have no understanding of what I was just saying. In fact, they would get very offended and very guarded and very defensive about it. Well, what do you mean I have to do it? Yeah, I'm not saying you have to do it my way. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But what you have to understand is if you are committed to having a family, that requires something that narcissistic PMC liberals are really not comfortable with, which is profound sacrifice. And AOC does not strike me as a person capable of that kind of sacrifice. She doesn't have the humility for it. And so for those reasons, I think it's Hunter Biden or bust for AOC. Give that man a call. He'll straighten you out.
He'll fix her.
He'll fix you. He's the only one. That IDF kid, the looks maxing guy, no, he's bad news. He's bad news. That's like Meadow and Jackie Jr. over there. No, fuck that. You need Hunter Biden.
That's Chris and Ariana.
Yeah.
Adriana.
Exactly.
Yeah. But look, I mean, that's a critique from a different angle of the way that women are being encouraged to do family.
Of course, but I'm just saying part of why she can't win a general election is because of that. Like, that attitude is just like not very
You're talking
common
about a
amongst
general
people.
election. I'm talking about a Democratic primary.
Right.
There are a lot of women who, even if you feel it's misguided to encourage women to have children that late in life, they are being encouraged to do that.
Of course.
So they are
100%.
going to find that relatable.
100%. This is why, yes, obviously, capitalism, especially as it reaches more advanced and severe stages, is making it harder for people to start families. Like I get all that. I get all that. But this whole thing of that wasn't really what she was saying in that video. It's like they're trying to force you to shack up with a loser. That's a paranoid, narcissistic way of looking at the world that really is alienating to most people. Most people don't think of
that,
other people that way. It's this very battle of the sexes framing, Like, how are you ever going to even have a healthy relationship with that attitude? Well, yeah, like, how are you even going to have a healthy relationship with that attitude? With this, you go into it assuming that you are in competition with your partner. How are you going to have a healthy relationship that way, much less raise children that way? It just strikes me, and I think most people, as just a very unhealthy outlook on the world, and this is a lot of why she can't win a general election, because that plays to people. Don't forget 77% of men in America are parents, and 85% of women, and at any given time, like 25 to 35% of American households have a child in the house. So, like, I know, like, being a parent makes me the odd man out in the podcast world, but it actually makes me the norm in the real world. Okay. And so when I say this, a lot of people, in the comments will be, well, Keaton's only saying that because he has kids. Yeah, that makes me the rule, not the exception. I'm the exception here, but I'm not the exception in reality, and people need to develop at least an understanding for that. Like, they don't have to model themselves any way they don't want them to, but you have to understand fundamentally where ordinary people are coming from if you want to win over majorities of ordinary people into your political project. And going on a rant about how society wants to trap women with loser men so they have kids when they're young, like, that's just, people say that and they're like, no, that's not actually what's going on. A good critique, like a reasonable critique, is what you were talking about, which I agree with, which is that, yeah, as income inequality becomes more and more severe, fewer and fewer people are ready to have kids in their prime childbearing years, and that's a huge problem.
Right.
But it's not a patriarchal plot to fuck women over. It's a problem of late-stage capitalism.
No, dude, when I was driving a carriage in San Francisco, I think this was the first time it really occurred to me that the kind of 60s sexual liberation post the pill kind of social shift may have actually hurt people more than it helped them. I had a couple, because you never see this in the Northeast. It's funny. You're in San Francisco, so you think San Francisco. But you got people who come from conservative inland communities coming there for tourism. So you interact with people like that more than you do in New York. We just don't even have a lot of that in the surrounding area, whereas in California you do, even if you're in San Francisco. I took a guy, young, healthy, and his wife, both of them like young looking. They were in their early 40s, and they were talking about how they were celebrating because their kids had just gone off to college.
Right.
I was like, you know what, man? That actually makes a lot more sense.
Right.
Like they're still kind of in their prime.
Right.
They already did it. They already
Right, they
raised
did it.
their kids, and they have a whole second half of their lives left now.
Right. Exactly. All right. Yeah, you want to go on to the second part of this, or do you want to do a chat break?
I would do a chat break.
All right,
Got a
we'll do
lot
chat break.
backed up.
All right.
Interrobang 5000. How are the Plattner criminal charges going? Oh, there are none. How about that? I know. Well, no, look, man. You know why you got so many people who want to jump all over Plattner? For the same reason that you don't see these so-called leftists organizing workplaces. They don't like people like that.
Right.
Even though all the people who are not completely indoctrinated with academic theory about what leftism is recognize that you need a lot more Plattners and a lot less Hongs if you want to actually win people over. And no, it's not a race thing. A lot more Chris Smalls, frankly. It's workers, people who signal that way. Now, I know he didn't come from that background, but for whatever reason, he lived that kind of a life that he could speak that language. I don't know why a guy coming from where he came from did all these tours and wound up an oyster fisher. I don't know why he made those choices, but he did. And it made him able to plausibly signal as working class and masculine. You need more of that. And they don't want more of that because they know if you get more of that, the folks with an X shit is going away. And in the end, they actually care more about that than they care about any economic concern. That's why they have such an issue with Plattner. And what they would readily call a hit job if this had been deployed against somebody who uses folks with an X, because it is a pretty obvious hit job what they did to him, as you're pointing out, no charges. They love it because they want to discredit the whole idea of pushing forth people who more plausibly signal as working class, because they don't like people like that. They don't actually like workers. That's why they were so quick to throw that guy under the bus. Thwumber, AOC or Rubio in 28. I don't know, man. As I'm going to get into in my segment, there's a whole psyop going on to soften your brain for JD Vance. Soften you up for Vance. Michael Castillo, Jimmy and Steph talked about it yesterday on Jimmy's show, so I sent them a nice present. Super chat. Love the show as always. I hope you didn't send your manifesto. That was how they found the Unabomber, you know. P. Walker, Clyburn is my do nothing model. Yeah. Kawaii Cowboy, I wonder if AOC's insurance covered those meds. Actually, she did a whole video about how it wasn't covered. She did a whole video about how it cost $8,000 and wasn't covered by insurance. It would have dragged out the segment, so I didn't use it. Mine didn't. $5K in meds alone and $20K total finance so far. My maybe babies go in the freezer tomorrow. Oh, so you just did that. No, she did. You can look it up. She did a video about how it wasn't covered. Yang Nong Nong always thought AOC's boyfriend looked like a CIA handler. I think that guy probably, look, man, I think he probably, I'm going on very little information. It seems like a codependent relationship where he kind of was the dominant one. I could be totally wrong about that. Michael R. The wall is undefeated. Stray cat in the streets. 18 months ago, AOC found out Daywalker voted Trump. Marianne Cummings. AOC came from solidly PM class, but shaken by her dad's sudden death. That was a compelling story, but she chose bogus working class narrative. Yeah, I mean, she was bartending. I've been to the place where she bartended, but she wouldn't be the first PMC class person to do that kind of a job after college. Roger Meadows, AOC now single. Guess Riley didn't want the drama. Yeah, I mean, just looking at his body language with her, it just seems like if you look at that Met picture, it seems like he's not that into her even by then, at the time they got engaged. Besides that, you got a woman that fine and you don't put a ring on it for 11 years, man, you got some serious reservations
you got
about that woman. Dimitri Mugianis, my colonoscopy remind me of the 80s. Took some drugs, woke up sore ass and don't remember anything. So, solidarity from Harlem. That's some funny shit, man. The one bird, name a candidate that you like that can win.
Well, I've thrown out this name many times, and he's never run because he's always teased it. But I think Jesse Ventura could win.
I mean,
he ran.
Maybe not now.
Not now, he can't.
Yeah,
but he could win. He could win. I think that guy Richard Ojeda, who's running for Congress now, he ran for president a while back.
Yeah.
I think he could win. He's become a bit of a lib through his like post-run career, but he started out a Bernie to Trump voter from West Virginia. Like I think he could win. Yeah. So those are two.
I liked what was her name who ran in West Virginia? She like disappeared from politics. You remember that? She was one of the people who kind of washed up in the wake of the Bernie.
Yeah, it was Paula Jean Swearingen, I think. Yeah, she could win.
I liked her.
Yeah, she was good. Yeah.
Man, I mean,
good.
so you see a theme here, like people who could convince, very non-woke people who can convincingly speak to the working class. That's the running theme.
And look, like there are. It depends on where you're running too. Like if Hong were running for mayor of Milwaukee, I would say, yeah, sure, she can win. Why not? A Democrat's going to win anyway. The primary is the general. So, yeah, absolutely endorse her if she's running for mayor of Milwaukee, But statewide, I didn't sense she could win that, So a lot of it depends on where you're running, too. Like, and that affects, what kinds of candidates with what kinds of policies and past judgments about major national holidays you can involve, you can afford to go all in on.
Marianne Cummings, Hunter Biden is being groomed for a 2030s run. This kind of comes in a pair. Jenna Tillis, grooming Hunter Biden will only make it look bigger. Okay, man, I'm going to read this because it's so fucking regarded. I kind of want to address it before we get into the next segment, which is going to further tear it apart.
Well, we got to read it anyway.
ASM, the day came where Keaton and Russ defend Bernie and AOC while Nathan Robinson attacks them with respect to Francesca Hong. What more is in store? We made a strategic electoral argument because we're covering an election. If you watch the AOC piece, we're far from defending AOC. In fact, we're going to spend a good portion of the afternoon dismissing AOC as a PMC narcissist is always a defense. There's the thing, man. The job of activists is to be activists, right? The job of politicians, I guess, is to win elections and try to maintain a certain amount of integrity while they do it. The reality is you're never going to get elected with 100% sticking to your principles. You're just not. That is just a reality of elections. And the job of commentators is to tell the truth. We've always promised, that has always been our value proposition. We will always tell you the truth. Doesn't mean we'll always be right. We'll always be honest. You never have to worry that someone's paying for our opinion. That's never going to happen. You're always going to get what we honestly think. You can disagree with it. That's fair enough. There's not one way to look at things. There just isn't. Each thing that you're analyzing has a different set of propositions, and you have to come at each thing afresh. For example, as I keep pointing out, I would vote the way I did again in terms of the Kamala Trump election, even as badly as the Trump administration has turned out. But I recognize that my strategic goal of opening up space for left candidates hurt a lot of people, man. Anyone who denies that, you're just not serious You're just not serious. Take responsibility. I do. And I like I said, I would do it again. But you got to understand there are consequences to your political decisions. So, yeah, if you're going to talk about an election, that doesn't mean that you're saying elections are going to fix the system, but you're talking about something very specific. Hong had a bunch of wacky, woke bullshit that we've spoken out against for the entire history of the show in her past that was probably going to be an albatross around her neck. Strategically, if these politicians, not activists, they're politicians, want to actually win more people who are aligned with them ideologically, win more elections, particularly with an election going next door that shares going on next door with someone they endorse that shares a media market with her. Yeah, you don't want the untalented chef with the she, her folks with an X adjacent to whiteness shit in her past. You don't want to be talking about that for the next few months. That's politics, baby. That's politics.
That's it. That's it. It's a judgment call. Nathan Robinson saw it differently. He thought she was just as viable a candidate as her primary opponent, and he thought they should have gone all in. I don't blame them in that context for sitting it out, because that wasn't a horse I would feel comfortable betting on either.
Right.
It's that simple.
And neither
Has
of us
nothing to
wears
do-
a bow tie.
Yeah. Has nothing to do with whether you like Bernie or AOC or anything. It's just a matter of, hey, you can
Right.
look at a decision and say, were they right to do this or were they wrong to do this? And I think in this context, yeah, I wouldn't have endorsed her either. I wouldn't have endorsed her either. That's the reality. Now, if she were running for mayor of Milwaukee, of course I'd have endorsed her, because at that point the primary
Right.
is the general. At that point, you don't have to
Right.
worry about electability
Right.
moving forward, just like
Right.
Mamdani in New York, right? But you're running in a swing state that went for Trump twice with fucking, occasion after occasion after occasion of just really cringe shit that, for pretty embarrassing reasons, I think matters a lot to the American people. I don't think a mature and serious population should really be concerned with what someone thinks about Thanksgiving. It shouldn't matter to them. But you know what? This is a very damaged country. It's like Israel. We are only a couple hundred years older than Israel. We kicked the natives off their land. We built settlements on their land, and we're very sensitive about that. We're very defensive of our heritage because we have a guilty conscience, because we're a guilty people. And that makes us very immature and very susceptible to getting drawn into ridiculous arguments about what someone thinks about our beloved holiday versus what another person thinks. I don't like any of it. I think it's embarrassing, honestly. But fact of the matter is, the election's in like 85 days, and you don't really have the time or the bandwidth to be litigating that now. Now you have to win. That is it. You have to win, period. If you cannot win, you do not get the ball. That's it. It's that simple.
Right.
All right. Let's take a few of these Rumble rants here. Okay, Vianticus, that CNN clip is like, it looks like two women who look like they really like to give head but are really bad at it. All right. It's the kind of sophisticated audience we've cultivated here. I'm glad that's where your
Best
mind was
audience on YouTube.
Yeah. DR Goldensteed is talking to you right now before the anesthesia kicks in, and the last words you hear before you're out. I saw your content and find it interesting. A Jew calling what's going on. I saw your content and find it interesting. A Jew calling what's going on in Gaza a genocide.
There's a lot of us,
Yeah, there's
Quite a lot of us.
Professor Brown, no. One data point to Russ's thesis that probably very few are revolutionary material. Hiding literature in the shared shit bucket. I'm just barely coping with only 2 DD shows a week. I think we're doing all right. Noah Goop, Russ, I hear AOC is single. She lives in New York. You live in New York. Just saying.
Oh yeah, totally.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have Jose make an introduction.
Yeah, exactly.
We've
All right.
spoken to her a few times. By speak to her, I mean yelled at her from an audience section.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move right on along, shall we?
All right. So this was the kicker. Whoa. I'll start that again. Okay, so this was the kicker. If you remember, Chi Ase was the one who wanted to primary Hakeem Jeffries, and nobody thought it was a great idea. Now, we did a segment on that, and once you take a good look at him, you won't think it's a good idea either, so I can't really blame them for that. But here is AOC walking back woke.
What do you make of those controversial statements? I'm sure you've seen. I mean, she's, the Thanksgiving dust up. She says she doesn't, still believe that, but, the abolished prisons, abolished police, which is also positions that have been taken by a lot of the progressive candidates who have won. How do you get around that? I mean, those are not positions that are supported by most of
I mean, I think that a lot of these races, even right now, they'll have a tendency to be nationalized.
Yeah.
But these races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay,
she put it on him.
And I think that what's important is that
my friend says woke one was crazy.
With some of those positions.
We had a very smart
you
people
briefly
saying that.
supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that during this time and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns.
Yeah.
And I think that the doors were really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. And I actually think that the discussions that were had in that time were quite fruitful. I think that when we talk about crime today, it's fundamentally different than the way that we talked about crime in bringing crime down, right? And I think that we all share in the goals of having as low a crime rate as possible. I think that, during lockdown, of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today. And I'm grateful that these candidates have the opportunity to present who they are to their electorate and what they're campaigning on in this moment.
All right. Now you might have noticed, it's not clear at first. Woke one was crazy, Madam President. Like you would think maybe he was making fun of her, but no. Your influence. There's a little love affair here going on. I love this video and mad respect for her for backing Abdul immediately after the primary. Didn't she back him when he was running? She did,
I think she's talking about Stevens. I think he's talking about Stevens because didn't he post a picture of Haley Stevens there? Go back one slide.
Oh, right.
Right. So he's talking about how she is, really great for bending the knee to Abdul. I think that's what he means.
I see. Lady Bunny, isn't AOC the fake progressive who wouldn't even support you in primarying AIPAC stooge Hakeem Jeffries? Now, to be clear, we did do a segment on this. Yeah, he was no great candidate, so you're kind of running into the Hong thing again. Like, do you want to bust that kind of a move for a loser? Ase's a loser. He's trying to set himself up here so that they'll back him at some point in the future, but he was not an impressive candidate. That means she's fine with no change, no progressive gains, and I totally don't get the Madam President bit. Are you suggesting that someone who lied about Harris working tirelessly to end a genocide which Kamala wanted to continue to fund? I'm glad AOC likes your cute tweets, but aren't you two very different? Not from what I saw.
No, he was
Not
a
from what
Kamala
I
guy
saw
too.
when we covered this. He was a Kamala guy too.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean. He's different. Like this is totally in character from what I know of him. Evan Barker, AOC strategy is to laugh away woke one as crazy and pretend it was some kind of mass hysteria, but it ruined careers, pushed an entire cohort of people out of Democratic politics, and is, according to the Dem staffers messaging me after reading my book, still happening inside the party now. If Francesca Hong is woke one, wait until you see a better organized and serious woke two. The vibe shift is a mirage. Ryan Grimm responded to this. Evan's point that woke one is still alive and unwell inside many campaigns and progressive orgs is accurate. I'll just take a second and point out Ryan Grimm, whatever his shortcomings, wrote one of the best articles about what peak woke was doing inside campaigns. I can't even remember her name now. She was like the progressive left in the Merrill campaign, not this one, the last one. I can't even remember her name now. And he wrote a great article talking about how they couldn't get anything done inside the campaign because there were constantly these struggle sessions and demands for concessions. So, yeah, he did some very good work on that. Hopefully, AOC's knock on it here helps. Obviously, a reckoning with what happened would be preferable, but that feels unrealistic. More achievable is what AOC is trying to do here, laugh at how crazy it was and move to talking about the economy. Strategically, that might be sound, but a lot of people are just not going to allow it, like me. Zaid Jelani, AOC admitting that a lot of crazy stuff happened during the woke period is basically a bookend. All of us who opposed wokeness without turning into crazy racists like Elon Musk or Gad Saad can now say we were victorious. Woo! I will count myself amongst your number, Mr. Jelani. Yes, I would say that defines us very well. See, that's what happened. A lot of people ask me like, well, why you used to like this person, that person? That's why. Because we had a common critique of woke and they went crazy racist and I didn't. And I got off the train because I don't want to ride with people like that.
I mean, yeah, within the left of center circles, yes, the Zaid Jelanis were victorious. Big picture, the crazy racists ended up winning.
Yes, well, that's true.
Yeah.
So Glenn here has a great article. This is worth reading in full if you get a chance. This is on his Substack. The tactic of AOC and her allies to giggle away the craziness of woke era abuses should not be tolerated. Just a couple of excerpts. It should be noted that AOC was not some bystander during all of this, as she has done for every similar moral panic of the left. The incalculably deranged Russiagate conspiracy theories, the life-destroying and due process-free #MeToo persecutions, COVID censorship. AOC supported and participated in the most extreme woke excesses because she does not have an iota of courage to resist social and political pressures. And I'm going to mention a couple he doesn't hear. There was a whole hearing about gender where it was crazy. It was crazy where AOC stood up and argued that keeping trans women out of women's sports was comparable to the masculinization of black women and had racist overtones and origins. And also, those of us who came out of the Bernie campaigns will very well remember who gave the brilliant advice to Bernie to run away from Joe Rogan's endorsement because of his views on, maybe dudes shouldn't be punching women in a steel cage.
In a cage, right? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that shouldn't be happening. In June 2020, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio responded to the growing demands of defund the police by slashing $1 billion, or about 1/6 of its overall resources from the NYPD budget. AOC was having none of it. Quote, defunding the police means defunding the police, she insisted. That does not mean reducing budgets or shifting around resources, she argued. She wanted, and this is what people try to argue defund means, right? Shift to social services. No. She wanted the NYPD defunded in full, and nothing short of that would be sufficient. File this under AOC is kind of an idiot, right? Like, that's idiotic to get on board with. Did you even from a political point of view, did you really think that was a sustainable politics that was going to last? And he includes this. Ocasio-Cortez dismisses proposed $1 billion cut. Defunding police means defunding police. from Glenn. If someone wants to stand up and say that they went along with and advocated a bunch of crazy ideas and demands because they simply got swept up in the hysteria of the moment, as AOC and her allies are now attempting to suggest, then that is a rather serious self-indictment. I can hardly think of a worse trait in a political leader or a human being of any kind than a lack of internal fortitude or personal courage to resist moral panics and accompanying demands for full submission by a gathered mob. Absolutely right. That's dangerous. It's very dangerous to have people like that in power. AOC was a dangerous nut job and a leader and a leading figure of dangerous nut jobs during what she now playfully dismisses as a crazy time. She was one of the chief crazies. Now, immediately when I saw this about face, I thought of what I grew up with. I grew up with the hippies turned yuppies going through a complete repudiation of everything they ever said or did in the past. Here's a brief little clip about that.
While the children of the 60s had chanted tune in, turn on, and drop out, by the mid-80s, they changed their tune and decided success and wealth weren't so bad after all.
Who would have thought we'd both make so much bread? Two revolutionaries. Good thing it's not important to us.
Like, who needs money, man?
Okay, so when I was growing up, there were a lot of commercials like this. There were a lot of commercials of the hippies turned yuppies who now were making these commercials, trying to kind of like laugh off. That was crazy. Now we make all this money. That was nuts. Hey, remember bell bottoms, right? Okay. This is the problem with having an ostensible workers movement that doesn't have workers in it. While the writing off the woke stuff is welcome by me personally, it demonstrates how these PMC revolutionaries in the end are going to go wherever the power is. And you know what? They can. They have options that workers don't have. They can always change costumes. They can always rejoin the good people of the earth, right? They can always rejoin the power elites, and they always will. Now, this is just absolute ridiculous language games that they're dismissing. Oh, that was crazy. But for those of you, and many of them are in our audience, who want to argue, they're going to just as easily dismiss whatever affiliation they might be pretending to the working class if and when the economics of our current situation shift so that they don't have to help workers to help themselves. They'll just kick them off the boat. Absolutely. This is why I keep referring back to Turchin. Yeah, it's elite on elite violence. They will continue to advocate for socialist policies as long as the economy does not shift back in their favor. As long as there's a circumstance of elite overproduction that does not allow them to have what previous generations of their class status took for granted, they're going to advocate for socialist policies to protect themselves. That's what it's about. That's why they have no workers around them. That's why they don't recruit workers. This is a socialism of the elites, very blatantly. So the elites were all into this woke stuff, but finally, they were forced to concede. Not all of them, as we will see, but some of them have been forced to concede. Voters don't like this shit, so we kind of have to get rid of it. They're just going to throw all that under the bus, just like if they can throw the people they say they represent economically now under the bus because it's better for them, they will. Like anyone whose critique of these people is that they're self-serving careerists, 100%, is the only answer to build real working class solidarity that understands itself as being in inherent tension with people like AOC. Yeah, that is the only answer. That is the political project of our time. But it's not something you're going to get done in a year or 2 years or 5 years. And that's where questions of harm reduction, in my opinion, do come up. But the overall critique, yeah, well, you can see it right here, man. They believed so much in this, and now it's not so important. They're willing to fucking destroy people's lives and livelihoods and careers. Glenn tells a story. I forgot about this. When Lee Fong worked at The Intercept, he interviewed 11 people about Black Lives Matter protests. He interviewed, without editorial commentary, he interviewed one black person who said, I don't know why, yeah, this is important, but I don't know why there's not more talk on what takes more lives, which is black on black violence. He offered no editorial commentary. It was part of 11 interviews he did. And yeah, there was a lynch mob that came after him to absolutely destroy him. Glenn describes how he worked internally to save his job. He was forced to do one of these fake apologies, even though he had done nothing wrong. Yeah, man, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. This is like, look, man, a lot of people were running around saying people who didn't get vaccinated should go into camps, and they want to laugh that off too. Like, yeah, man, if you took it to that extreme, you have something to answer for. You cannot just laugh off having destroyed people's lives and livelihoods in that way. And Glenn is absolutely right. If you'll fall for something like that, what does that say about you as a leader? Why would anyone trust you with leadership at that point?
Well, not only did they destroy people over it, they empowered something that I think they felt they had banished to the dustbin of history for good. I didn't think they anticipated Trumpism coming back as strong as it did.
We did.
In response to peak woke or woke one, if you will, right? I think they didn't realize they were playing a very dangerous game. They thought they had carte blanche to just go as far as they wanted. Much in the way that when MAGA came back into power, the same thing happened to them. They thought, well, we won, we banished the wokesters, we'll never have to contend with them again, so fuck it. Kendrick Lamar, fuck him. That's DEI halftime. Like, they just went in the other direction, and there's always a counterbalance. The pendulum can always swing back. That's the lesson. All right. Do you want to go right into the other piece?
We can.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we do that?
Actually, well, you know what, man? I'll take a couple chats because they'll break it a little better.
All right. Well, here, let me take some Rumble rants. Kevin, on social media, progressives saying vote blue no matter who as last chance to escape fascism, no purity politics. What do you think? Is situation this dire? Any Democrat is better? Well, look, I always think that midterms are about defense, not offense. Midterms are always about checking the party in power. And given the fact that every president in my lifetime has been a bad one, I always think, it's important to, block the forward progress of the current party. So in that respect, I guess you can make an overall general argument. But I would say, obviously, like a guy like Fetterman is not better. Like, these hardcore Zionists are not better. I think it depends on where you live, and what the situation is. Noah Goop, Poly Market is wisdom of the crowd. Yeah, crowd of goys, maybe. Goy Market. I should call it Goy Market.
Goy Market.
Yeah. Ugly old broad says stuff. Keaton on fire with Tuesday off. I'm all for changing the Washington team's name back if the other slurs for team names are allowed. Yeah, right. Equity, baby. I'm kidding. Churduckin for president. Easy win. Thanks, Mr. Measy. I heard from a Palestinian on Savvy's show something like, don't be so ideological that you never get anything done about electoral politics. Whether we like it or not, elections have consequences.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think that makes sense.
And that's something a lot of people have a very hard time with. Like you say that, oh, you're majority report, you're exit. Shut up, man.
Well, notice they
come on.
Well, no, but this is what I said like last time. Like they will respond to that by repackaging your argument for you. They won't make their own argument. They won't actually say their position.
No.
They'll say
that's
who you are.
I love 7 paragraphs explaining what's wrong with the system as if we don't know.
Right.
No, we have
Exactly.
no idea. For
Yeah,
5
no,
years we've been talking about it for 12 to 15 hours on a mic. We have no. Oh, really? Is the system broken? You don't
Oh,
say.
yeah. Oh,
You
wow.
don't say. Huh.
The leftists who love the culture war stuff are the counter-elite university crowd who are condescending to the working class. Yep.
Yep.
Indeed.
That's why they don't recruit them.
That's right. Noah Goop got my girlfriend to start listening to you guys, bringing your female listener numbers up to 8. Thank you, Noah. Excuse me, Kenman. Jimmy Dore used to call AOC's ex-fiance Whitey McWhite. Yeah, he is. He's a pasty fellow.
That's
he is
a pasty
fellow
dude.
with the red hair too. AOC had a limited edition J Street handler as a boyfriend. Yeah, there you go. Noah Goop. I work in the trades, and let me tell you, the woke shit is still the number one thing people whine about here. It's so toxic for non-computer desk city libs. Yep. I believe it. And you're in Canada, right? Imagine here, right? Ex-Barbarian, not the 10-point BS. Yeah, that was dumb. No, it's literally titled Shapiro Goyslop, literally with Catherine Austin Fitz last night. Check it out. All right, I will. Thanks, Ex-Barbarian. Colonoscopy video for the patrons. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
should put. What do we do? We can put it on like Apple, 99 cents a view.
Yeah, pay-per-view. Yes, just in case you were wondering, but fentanyl colonoscopy is a whole genre of porn. Will that be 1% milk prostate or 2%? Mark Pugliese, you guys familiar with the Soviet film Battleship Potemkin? The Lincoln sailor should see it. Yeah, Russ showed a clip of that.
I used it. Yeah.
I used it, yeah. Good luck, Russ, says V. Nettlesbaum. I just found out that redheads metabolize pain meds quicker. That's why some of us wake up in the middle of an operation. I just have a red beard, but apparently it's enough. I have a kind of a reddish brown beard. Not full ginger beard, but a reddish brown beard.
Yeah, you guys are all mixed with leprechauns.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That guy was tall,
blood.
though, for a leprechaun. The guy was pretty tall. Last time I saw AOC's J Street handler boyfriend was when she followed out of a movie theater by pro-Palestine protesters. Yeah, I remember that one. He tried to console her, and she shoved him off. You might be right, Russ. Yeah, no,
That's right.
nah,
That seems like it was a pretty dysfunctional situation.
Yeah, that was not good. I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did. It better be a clout chase. Clavicular shooting a shot at AOC could upset Peter Thiel. Ha, good one. Eric Rousseau, AOC can implant her eggs in one of her fangirls. Stoop sign, AOC will show such bravery as she gets pregnant to kick off her presidential campaign. Yeah, exactly. Ravid Laz, RFK, fuck this clavicular, whatever the fuck his name is. I heard AOC is A-OK with milkshake. Why me just a mucho oil from my fungo? Thank you. Ravid Laz, appreciate that. All right, you want to take some chats?
John Freese, given that the American oil reserve is about to run out and gas prices will go much higher, we are probably on the cusp of a Great Depression. At the very least, we need to restore the New Deal. Yeah, I am expecting things to go sideways myself.
Yeah, not good.
That's why I haven't made any big moves. I'm sitting in my rent-stabilized apartment in New York where they can't raise the rent no matter what happens to the economy. There's a reason for that.
That's right.
And in New York, see, I was talking to Keaton about this. I didn't realize this, that like heat is usually not included in a rental because in New York, it's always
in
included
New York
in a
it is, yeah.
rental.
Yep.
So yeah, if the heating oil price goes through the roof, not a concern for me. Roger Meadows, my county executive, catching up to Hochul. Thoughts?
Is he really though?
You're up there. You know,
no, you're
better
talking
than I
about
do.
Blakeman, right? The Long Island guy in running for governor. I think he's still down by like 10. I mean, I can't imagine she loses. It's almost impossible to think in a year
I
like
don't
this the
think so.
governor of New York's going to lose. Yeah, he's still. pretty far behind.
Username deleted, a little behind, but Richard Ojeda is considered a lol cow on the internet. Look up Blind Mike Project and WATP coverage. Hilarious stuff. Yeah,
A friend of mine who used to be in the world of political fundraising, she worked with him a little bit. No, he got totally absorbed into like the blue MAGA machinery. But I'm talking about when he first came onto the scene as the Bernie guy turned Trumper. I think he had real crossover appeal back then. Yeah.
Virtuoso, Woke 1, Woke 2.0. What is this? The Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah,
Wait,
right, exactly.
Wait until you see Phase 6.
Yeah.
Stray cat in the streets. Elon going to crack the highly prized AOC eggs.
Yes.
Ex-egged. Yeah. That would be funny. All right. Dave, 1984. Fucking love Russ's political insights. You and Keaton are the dynamic duo we need, if not the one you want.
There you go.
All right.
Let's move right on along. All right, you got one last thing.
All right. The last of this trilogy, speaking of the MCU.
I'll be right back. You can start with that.
Okay. All right. Woke One was crazy. All right. Let's just take a look at a short soundbite version of this. This was AOC on This Week.
Is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot
right,
of that.
she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
and I think that what's important is that.
Crazy. Okay, so of course, Zohran Mamdani was asked what he thought about this.
You think woke one was crazy?
Look, I think that each person has a responsibility to tell New Yorkers, to tell Americans when they're running for office what they believe. And sometimes what you believe can change, it can develop, it can grow. And I know that there are some for whom they still believe in that. I've made very clear that I do not believe in defunding the police, that I will not be defunding the police. And that to me, delivering critical public safety also looks like working with our police department alongside many other partners. And we've seen over the first 7 months of this administration what that can look like when we're talking about the fewest murders on record in New York City, the fewest shooting incidents on record in New York City. And that to me is how we measure a lot of our public safety.
Thank you. We're going to
Okay, so Mamdani is asked about woke one, and he kind of goes to defunding the police and how he has no plans to defund the police, acknowledging that he might have had different views in the past, but saying views evolve, taking the political win of having historically low murders in New York City right now, and moves on. Welcome to our trash revolution. So far, it seems like people think the following things are woke one. People being annoying online, Nancy Pelosi wearing a kente cloth, the defund and or abolition movement. What are we even talking about? Well, if you lived through that period and you have to ask, what are we even talking about? You should probably just shut the fuck up about politics. You should probably not talk about it because you don't understand it. You don't understand it. If you think that's all that went on during that period, some people were annoying online, talk to the electrician who lost his job for cracking his knuckles because some schmuck videoed it and claimed it was a white supremacy sign. And he was a Latino. He was a Latino. It wasn't just college professors that they came for during this period. Brianna, AOC et al. Could easily clarify that they still support BLM and defund. Oh, the widely discredited BLM organization that spent millions of dollars buying a mansion? Oh, yeah, no, she should connect to that. That's a good idea. But they won't because they don't. Zohran is destructively connecting public safety with policing, a lie, and keeping his Zionist billionaire police commissioner, while Bernie is saying no serious person is running on defund. This is about abandoning criminal justice as a priority. This is the Plattner left. Anything to win. Okay. Well, let's take a look at what our friend Shama said. The two most prominent DSA electeds, AOC and Zohran Mamdani, are betraying in broad daylight the movement against racism and police brutality. There is zero prospect for movements to succeed in slashing the $120 billion budget of U.S. police departments, shutting down ICE, and ending the Gaza and genocide unless we fight against both the Democratic and Republican parties. This also means exposing the progressive and DSA Democratic Party politicians when they act as gatekeepers and betray our movements. All right. So this is what Mamdani said in the past about this, back in 2020, long before he was mayor. And during Woke One, as AOC likes to refer to it now, we don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need is to hashtag defund the NYPD. But your deal with the NYC mayor uses budget tricks to keep as many cops as possible on the beat. No to fake cuts, defund the police. So it was June 2020. So was this about 3 months into lockdown that he tweeted this. And of course, we showed in the previous segment, AOC was all about it. When de Blasio actually did go ahead and make a $1 billion cut, she said defunding the police means defunding the police. She took the maximalist view that you really just had to get rid of the police budget entirely. Now, I will tell you, and I've pointed this out before, to understand New York City politics, particularly mayor's races, you have to understand that 70s New York comes up in every single mayor's race. You're going to hear in every single mayor's race in New York, Fear City. This is referring to a booklet that the NYPD made because they were cutting police. So as a retaliatory measure, they went to train stations and airports and handed this out to tourists to scare tourists about coming to New York, to put pressure on the administration. 1, stay off the streets after 6 p.m. Avoid public transportation. Remain in Manhattan. Protect your property, right? So as you can see, just designed to scare the shit out of people, particularly when you have any mayor that is to the left of Francisco Franco running. They pull out Fear City. It's going to be Fear City. Crime is a particularly acute issue in New York because of this specter of Death Wish taxi driver New York that they pull out in every single mayor's race. God help you.
Russ froze for a second there. Am I here? I see you. Yeah. You're freezing. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now you're coming back.
Am I back?
You're back.
You're
back. Still back. Yeah.
We are so back, baby.
We're
all right.
so
So where did I freeze? Where was I?
I forget exactly what you said there. What you said, you cannot. God help you was the last thing I heard.
Okay. All right. So
which was fitting because then you disappeared.
God help you if you cut police as a Democrat and crime goes up. Fear City. We're going back to Fear City right away. Right away. This is why, particularly in New York City, you cannot run on that. You absolutely cannot run on defunding the police. Now, can you run on reorganizing the financing? Yes, a lot of that was done under de Blasio. To be clear, I'm not sure if Mamdani has done anything in that direction, but a reorientation of money towards social workers and crisis counselors coming instead of police, that was done under de Blasio. But I don't want to speak on what I don't know. I don't know if Mamdani just left that in place and said good enough. I would imagine so, because if he had done anything else, we probably would have heard about it. This is the problem. People who purport to be speaking for non-white communities when they say they want to literally defund the police, not move money around, literally defund the police, as AOC did. Who are you speaking for? Because if you look at the numbers, the people who most support that are white people and Asian people. The people who least support that, Black people and Hispanic people. You got what? Among Black people, this is about 23, 24% looking at this line. So how do you say that you are speaking for people who are emphatically against what you're proposing? If that's not a colonial mindset, what is a colonial mindset? I thought you're not supposed to speak for people. I thought you're supposed to let them speak for themselves. So why do so many activists continue to speak over economically disadvantaged Black people who live in neighborhoods where, yeah, they worry about crime? They're dependent on police protection. Now, living in Harlem, where under Bloomberg, I did see stop and frisk in action. I did see working class Black men in my neighborhood being stopped and frisked on the court. People I knew personally were not criminals, were just working guys. Bloomberg put an end to that. So whatever you might get in the polling as a reaction to that, it's been a while. It's been a while since they reformed that policy. Even Adams really did not bring that back. Now, if you look at preference for amount of time police spend in your area, Black Americans want more time or same amount of time by 81%. White Americans, it's higher, as you would expect. You know, it's like, what was that, like 98 or something? 71, 81, 89%. So actually, it's not that much higher than Black people. It's majorities with everybody, though. The majorities say they want more police spending time in their area. Now, getting into some of the details, confidence about receiving positive treatment by police, predictably, for Black Americans, that's 53, 61%. And for white Americans, that's 91% are confident they're going to get treated positively by police. So this is not that Black communities are not aware that police can be a threat to their safety. But if you look at it as a whole, they see crime as a greater threat, and they see being attacked by street criminals as a more likely threat to them than police in their neighborhood. That is the only sense you can make of these numbers. And this isn't like an outlier. That's every poll that's ever done, which if you notice, the activists who keep purporting to speak for these communities never want to mention this. They never want to talk about it. They never contend with it. And Lee Fong here, getting a lot of love today, says it very well. I've met many socialist political streamers and influencers who talk endlessly about the need for government to own everything, yet abolish police, who haven't set foot in a housing project to interview people about their lives and daily concerns. Yeah. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Who do you see amongst people advocating this? I got projects right down the block from my house. I don't see no DSA over there. I don't see any DSA. You know who supports this? This clip never gets old. You're going to get Keaton's giggle quite a lot here. He loves this clip. So this is a DSA conference. It's pretty infamous. Their national convention from 2020.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus.
There's a lot of
Please, can we
whispering.
I know
Not
we're all
even
fresh
screaming.
and
There's
ready
a lot
to
of
go, but can we
whispering
please just
going
keep
on.
the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
They're whispering so
Conrad.
as to not offend you.
Is there a speaker
They can't even
against
whisper.
name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Quick point of privilege once
That's
again.
my favorite.
Quick point of
That's
privilege
my
once
personal
again.
favorite.
Hi, James Jackson, Sacramento DSA, he, him. I have already asked people to be mindful of the chatter of their comrades who are sensitive to sensory overload, and that goes double for the heckling and the hissing. It is also triggering to my anxiety. Like, the be comradely isn't just for like, let's keep things civil or whatever. It's so that people aren't going to get triggered and so that it doesn't affect their performance as a delegate, okay? Your need to express yourself is important, but your need to express yourself should not trump or
I see that no one's clapping for me. It could be because I'm not engaging, but it also is because everyone's doing this. And that's really important because those loud bursts of noise, even though this is a noisy space, when we can do something like reducing that, that's really important. So please don't clap, shoot up these. We have a lot of disabled comrades, and a lot of those are invisible disabilities. You don't know who it is that is having a more difficult time navigating this space, and this space was not created with all of their needs in mind. So it's up to us to modify that space to make sure that everybody is able to move in the ways that they need to move.
Okay. So these are the people, I'm sorry, who are purporting to speak for black and brown people. You see a lot of black and brown people there. Now, to be fair, I know there's more than there were. But nonetheless, the best numbers I've seen, DSA is still, I think, 68% white, has double the number of people who have a BA or a graduate degree that you'd find in the general population. You see that? Do you think these people would even be willing to go to a housing project and talk to people? Honestly, is part of what's kind of funny and tragic about the fighting between the Green Party and the DSA. They're the same people.
They're the same people. Yeah.
They're the same people. Cornel West was not woke enough for the Greens. He had to have a sit down with the Lavender Caucus to clean up his thinking around transition. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get out of here. You're going to go and tell communities that you don't live in and wouldn't live in a million years what their views are on policing when they tell you in every poll that's ever been done. Yeah, no, actually, we want more police. But you're going to force this down their throat, and as you do it, you're going to purport to be speaking for them. I thought we're against colonial mindset. I thought we're not supposed to be making decisions for people like that. I thought we're supposed to respect their autonomy and listen to what people think. Nah, man. Not when it comes to class. That's the funny thing, because they cloak themselves in the language of communism and in the language of Marxism and the language of socialism. They do not respect working people. That's why they don't cultivate them. They don't go out of their way to recruit them. You don't see them in union halls. You don't see them on factory floors. You don't see them at what in this era, in this age, would probably be your most fruitful places to organize. Go to Uber drivers, go to Lyft drivers, go to DoorDashers, go to Amazon warehouse workers. Do you see them doing that? No, because they don't want to talk to people like that, because people like that are going to fucking laugh at you if you have a convention where you're talking about, this is very triggering to my anxiety. They're intimidated by people like that. And if you're going to say DSA is not like that anymore, we covered this the other night with Joel. They're making you prove a negative COVID test to go to their convention
summit or whatever. Yeah,
to go to their summit in 2026. 2026, they don't want, I guess, because of things like this, they won't let you. If you get press credentials, you can't do ambush journalism. Which what does that mean? You can't go interview people. If you're not worried that your people are freaking ridiculous, what do you have to hide? I say what you want about the right wingers, and I say a lot. I've never heard of them imposing that condition.
Right.
I have never heard of them, and a lot of people in our space go to these Republican conventions and CPAC. I've never heard of them telling you, no. Well, you can't ambush interview people.
Yeah, you can't ask us things that we don't
It's
want
a
to be
bunch
asked.
of weak, safetyist kind of people, and a lot of elites who purport to speak for people that they don't have in their organizations, don't go out of their way to recruit for their organizations, and completely ignore when people actually ask them what they want, completely ignore their opinion. What underlies that? You think they're too stupid to have an opinion. You think they're too uneducated. You think they don't know what's good for them.
That's
And
also why
that
they don't
is-
laugh.
that is the worst stereotype of the left, that they run around moralizing and telling people what's good for them. And you know what? There's some truth to that stereotype, and you can see it in so many people running around screaming, defund the police, as if they represent a community that emphatically says they reject that idea.
Yes, and that's also why they don't laugh. That's why they don't have a good sense of humor either. I think that has a lot to do with it. No, my father once went to a DSA meeting. This was years and years and years ago. This was right around this time, actually. And they literally said at the DSA meeting, local chapter, we need more LGBT people in this chapter. Not we need more factory workers, we need more Uber drivers, we need more waitresses or bartenders. No, we need more LGBT people. Now, part of that is a virtue signal, but part of that is because, they want their organization dominated by people who are very concerned with the type of mannerisms and the type of language policing that you saw at the convention. That's their clique. That's their club. Too many grubby workers get in the club. It's going to change the character of the organization. And all of a sudden, it's not your club anymore.
Right.
Right. And so, that is just like undeniable, which is funny. I mean, the meeting was at somebody's house. Like, if you need more gay people in the organization, hey, there's a bedroom upstairs. Any volunteers? We could change that right now. Pick a partner and get at it, and all of a sudden, boom, you're at 80% LGBT membership, right? But I guess they didn't have any volunteers. Oh, well, sad. Look, I said during the 2020, during the George Floyd protests, when the protesters were out there chanting defund the police, my position was, hey, don't tone police activists who are out there making demands. Let them cook. If that is the slogan that organically arose out of this protest movement, then let them cook. Now, since 2020, it's kind of come into question how organic those protests were, right? Especially when you hear things like, the guys who Kyle Rittenhouse shot were steered toward Kyle Rittenhouse that night, right? Like, who knows, right? But even at the time when I said, like, hey, listen, because at the time, like, there were certain municipalities that responded to that demand. Like Austin, Texas started putting more like psychiatric counselors in the 911 workflow. So they maybe didn't necessarily send a cop to every conflict. And that seemed to be, I haven't followed up on it. I don't know what the stats are, but at the time that seemed to be kind of successful. And then there were other cities that responded to defund in ways that were less successful, i.e. Portland, Oregon, right? So, like, I wasn't against protest. I mean, of course, if you're for democracy and you're for free speech, of course, I'm not against protesters making demands, especially in the wake of what we saw happen to George Floyd and the wave of sentiment regarding those issues at the time. But I always said, you cannot expect that any politician is going to run on that, and you can't hold it against them when they don't, because they can't win with that. Again, they just can't win with that, right? And so it's the same thing here, right? You can have your opinions, but ultimately, it's just not a slogan you can win on. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about slogans. This is what is happening now. This is the context in which all this is happening, and I think certain people are either ignoring it or they are defiant about the reality surrounding this context of this moment. We saw the opening salvos of this midterm season as, spring turned to summer. It was Red Scare 2.0. It was communism is the big threat. And they're still running with that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But it's becoming pretty clear that that dog ain't gonna hunt, because number one, people can't afford groceries, and half the groceries they can afford, are poisoned and contaminated to the point where you're going to shit yourself to the brink of death if you buy them. So, the whole communist scare is just not really landing, and it's also big picture. It's not.
I might not even take that citrate for the colonoscopy. I might just eat some lettuce.
Yeah, exactly. Just eat lettuce, right? Not only the big reason why the communism scare is not is a dog that just won't hunt is because it's not based in reality. There is no communist movement with a foothold in the United States. There simply isn't, and most people understand that. So what they're trying to do here, when it comes to like candidates,
farming,
like Hong, when it comes to like
We're
Hong
gonna
and
get
stuff
50,
like this.
50 denials.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's all right. That, like you said, good for engagement. When it comes to the revival of Woke One, as AOC brands it, and the relitigating of all this, I think the right wing smells more blood in the water because unlike the Red Scare 2.0, there is a kernel of truth when they bring up how cringe the left was 5 or 6 years ago. The kernel of truth is that you were actually cringe, and people actually remember how cringe you are. And the right senses an opportunity here. Okay, we have absolutely nothing to run on. I mean, nothing to run on. Zero. In any respect, between Epstein, Iran, the economy. I mean, everything is in fucking shambles. What might work is reminding people of why they voted Trump in 2024, which was a response to Woke One. And the reality is, if you want to win, you have to be mindful of that, and you have to learn from that. And the politicians who have been able to power through that have at least one of two things going for them, which is that they are very talented and or they are running in deep blue districts where it's not going to crush them against the GOP.
Right.
You know, like for Mamdani, both things are true.
Yeah,
he's both
both of
talented
those.
enough
Yeah.
to muscle through it, and he's running in New York. Abdul El Sayed, I don't know. I mean, he deleted a lot of his shit. Like Jimmy said, he deleted a lot of the vaccine stuff. So I don't know how much there is. But, you know, he is running in a swing state, but he's got talent. So maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. One of those things has to be true. You can't be Francesca Hong with you know, no real talent and in a swing state. Like, these are the kinds of things that can sink you in what is widely perceived as a very high stakes year. And so this is just the reality of how you talk in the home stretch of a campaign season, where the attack against you is, hey, remember how off-putting you guys sucked so hard that they gave the keys to the car back to Donald Trump.
Right.
You know, reminding voters of that seems to be the last ditch effort of the Republican Party. And I think the wiser and more talented of this new crop of ascendant left candidates are navigating that pretty well. And the worst of them are not navigating it well, and they're losing. And that's the way,
there's
that's
something
the way,
there to
and that's, of course, and there is something there to navigate, and that's just the way the cookie is going to crumble over the next 80 days or so.
Right. You're talking about, this is one case where Scott Jennings' formulation, it's an 80-20 issue. Literally.
Right.
In the black community, it's an 80-20 issue. So
Right.
what are you talking about? What are you suggesting they do? Like
Right.
you're just more comfortable with glorious self-pitying defeat?
Right. Exactly. I think there is a tendency to deny just how damaging a lot of that was, even by people who were like not really participating in it. I think if you have, you know, a real fighter's spirit, the way like Brianna and Shama do, obviously, and I respect them for that warrior spirit that they have, I think there's a tendency to think you can power through it. And some people can, some people can't. This is the thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I just think that's the way things are going to go. Now, you know, if you're Mamdani and you're up there talking like that, I think, you know, the criticism of him that is valid is, hey, you're mayor of New York, you're the incumbent, you won already, you know, you don't have to moderate. I think he's conscious of the fact that he is the poster child for the left going into these midterms. I think that's a lot of it. And I also think some of it is the fact that once you become an executive, you become mindful of the kind of data that you showed in the segment. You know, which is that, yeah, man, there was never any data to show that people in the project supported defund the police. There was just never any data to show that.
Exactly. So who are you speaking for at that point?
Right. Exactly. All right. Let's see. You want to take some super chats here? And I'll pull up our scroll here.
Yeah. Lychees, if the Washington Commanders changed their name to the Washington Goy, who would be their mascot?
Scott Jennings would be the mascot. Yeah.
Turd burglar. Hey,
or
guys.
what about Carolyn Leavitt? Now that she needs a job. Yeah. She could be the mascot for the Washington Goys. Yeah.
Turd burglar. Hey guys, if you ever want me to do you a solid, just let me know. Is that
No,
a
thank
play
you.
on the name?
Yeah, is that a play on the name? Yeah.
Arthur Handy, how do we define woke? You know, I think we know. I think we know. It's an obsession with language and manners that would make Noel Coward blush at the expense of class solidarity and meaningful policies that people actually care about.
Right.
That's how I would define it. Dendro Bates. Can't believe Shmuley appeared with that Icelandic guy on Piers Morgan. Oh, the guy went on with him? I knew
really?
he went on Piers Morgan because he's bitching about it. He's saying Piers defended the Icelandic people. The guy has Eobard Thawne level of pettiness. Comic book reference for us. Eobard Thawne. You know, man, you went over my head with that one. I don't know.
Yeah, got him.
Is that a DC thing? I was always more of a Marvel kid. Race car. Question about nature. When an eagle swallows a fish whole and the fish is shaking in the eagle's belly, does the eagle think, man, this is so gross, or does it think I'm such a boss? I think the latter. And probably the latter.
Yeah, probably.
Steve, love the show, guys. Have either of you checked out the channel Breezy Politics? Their short clips of people dogpiling Zionism are cathartic. I feel like the name is familiar.
Yeah, I've seen their clips on Twitter. I haven't really seen much on YouTube, though. I think I've seen like their logo on some Twitter videos.
Yeah, it's definitely familiar. Andy Gardner, DD, your soundboard clips are contributing to my PTSD. Do any fellow comrades have a Xanax? I'm a delicate flower. I am a river. You're my comrade.
Yeah.
All right. Over to
Good
you.
call. All right. Let's see what we got over here. V Nettlesbaum. Good luck, Russ. I just found out the redheads metabolize pain meds quicker. That's why some of us wake up in the middle of an operation. I just have a red beard, but apparently it's enough. Oh, sorry. I think we got that one already.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay. Here we go. Sorry, this one's a new one. Vienticus, a character in my story, says, when you're young, you're not wise enough to be a father. When you're wise, you're no longer young enough. How is a man to be a good father then? That is very profound, Vienticus. That is a good quote. That is a good quote.
That is good.
Indeed. I honestly like AOC to a degree. She's blackmailed on the hook for the Menudo Mud Shark video. Who are you to shame? We're to shame our Latinx youth about their proclivities while wet petting the red snapper with swords. Thank you. Good point, Stoop Sign. Always can count on you for some perspective. Russ, can you send your China robot to wreck the bots in the Rumble chat, please? Oh, do we have a lot of bots in the Rumble chat?
I've got to figure out. Oh, yeah. Say I'm watching the YouTube chat. I've got to figure out how to get a device that puts out, or a phone that puts out 2.4. It only works with 2.4 gigahertz.
Interesting. All right. Lindsay Strong, the lie that they've told women of my generation that we can have it all, family, career, etc., is a lie, and many women suffer. You can have all that, just not at the same time. I'm 42, pregnant with my second. Good for you. And yeah, I think that's a very insightful comment. Why I am picturing Hunter Biden being a crackhead and cuckold for AOC, smoking crack in the corner of the room while the vehicular smashes on one kick. Be right back. Need to go throw up. Good one. That's funny. Ugly Old Broad says stuff. I'd have voted for Ventura. His policies tickled my gun-toting progressive ideology more than any of his other trash after Bernie choked. Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely softened. I mean, he was never serious about doing it, but during his heyday, he was both plausible as like an underwater demolition Navy SEAL and a pot-smoking hippie, because he was both of those things. So he had a lot of crossover appeal. He had a lot of potential. AOC 28, we need a president with a robust and active WikiFeet page. Play moderate splash of red like a demure Latina from yesteryear. No DSL, pastel, popsicle, pedicure. Too woke. That's very well written, Stoop Sign. Ugly Old Broad says stuff. So AOC, a local councilman, came up with woke one, and you keep repeating it. Replacement for hatching those kids found. Yeah, I think that was Chiose, right? That said woke one. Is that who she was talking about there? Kenman, Norman Finkelstein said it best. AOC is an airhead. That's right. Eric Rousseau, did you hear the 3 men have declared for the WNBA draft as trans women? 2 are ex-NBA players. They will dominate. Oh, good.
I thought they banned that in the WNBA.
I don't know.
They allow self-identification.
Woke One was the Democrat version of the Republican Southern strategy. When you lose your job and can't pay your rents because of racism and not economic policy. Yeah, the right version.
I always said
DEI.
that.
Yep, exactly. Good call. Annapurna, late bloomers are very different than the early boomers. I feel like I grew up in the shadow of the hippie movement, etc. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Depends, certainly, because that was very specific to, the late 60s there. Eric Rousseau, please no big titties in this space. I cannot concentrate when I have a boner. Please be sensitive to my needs. Thank you. You got it, Eric Rousseau. I don't think there are any others left in the show. So I think it is safe for you to continue watching this afternoon. Speaking of that, let's continue. All right, let's talk a little foreign policy here. This was kind of funny. Trump slipped off Air Force One in a catering cart after learning of missile threat from Iran. So CBS News had the first exclusive on this, so I guess their local affiliates had the story first. So let's take a look at their Philadelphia branch covering this development.
This morning about an extraordinary security move to protect President Trump from an alleged Iranian missile threat. CBS News Philadelphia's Josh Sanders at the Pulse Desk with the latest. The details here, very disturbing to hear. Josh, good morning.
Janelle, good morning. Call it a presidential bait and switch. These breaking details into the Pulse Desk this morning. CBS News confirming President Trump secretly slipped off Air Force One and onto another U.S. military plane while leaving Turkey last month. Now, U.S. intelligence detecting what officials described as a credible plot from Iran and its allies to fire a missile at the president's plane. Now, take a look at this video. This is back in July during the NATO summit in Turkey. Video showing President Trump arriving on the tarmac with Secret Service, then walking up the stairs of Air Force One. But he didn't actually leave on that plane. Now, according to CBS News, a catering truck on the other side of the jet helped conceal the president as he was moved across the tarmac to another U.S. military aircraft. Trump then flew to a refueling stop in the United Kingdom, while members of the press and some of his staff flew on the same route on Air Force One, believing the president was still with them. Now, reporters were even told to keep their window shades closed. The White House says it uses every tool at its disposal to address any threats against the president. Now, here at the Pulse, we're tracking this and so much more.
Yeah. So as you can infer here, the meme play was kind of glorious here. Greatest, most luxurious catering cart escape ever. Yeah. See, this is where AI proves its usefulness a little bit. You must be so proud of America. Remember, he wants to give himself a Medal of Honor with the AI renderings of Donald Trump hiding in the catering carts. I have completely obliterated Iran 37 times. They are no longer a threat. And this one was particularly brutal. Ouch. Staged. Real. Ooh. That wasn't a nice one from the lovable liberal and his Old English sheepdog. But here's Donald Trump explaining what happened here, and we actually have side-by-side footage of Trump talking about what happened, and then you can actually see in the left side of the frame the catering cart and the truck holding the catering cart in question, so you can kind of track where he was as this operation of sorts unfolded.
Ride on the airport catering truck in Turkey. Why did you need to do that?
Well, it's only up to Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by Secret Service.
They said, sir, you got to hide under the roast beef. We're moving you.
Flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
The horseradish is burning my eyes.
I guess there was a threat out there. I didn't really ask too much about it. I get a lot of threats.
Why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but not too dangerous for...
Okay, so see, she's asking this question. Obviously, this is a natural question to ask. Hey, why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but it was apparently not too dangerous for the press and most of your cabinet to fly on Air Force One because the Iranians, quote unquote, were to be under the impression that you were on board, even though you weren't.
Dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but
Well,
not
I don't
too
know.
dangerous
I
for the
think
press.
actually the plane that I flew on was at greater risk. I
Right.
was at greater risk.
Yeah, that
Because
makes a lot
would
of
be the
sense.
plane I think that we
Yeah, that's why you went on it in secret, because that was a greater risk, right? Yeah, no, actually,
What a bullshit.
yeah, so it was actually it was a greater risk, the one that I was on, even though the whole point of me hiding in a catering cart and being secretly transported to that second airplane was so that the Iranians wouldn't know I was on it, so they'd be less likely to hit that one and more likely to hit Air Force One, which they thought I was on, but really that was just my staff and my cabinet and the fake news media.
they would be more likely to go for it.
Right, right. Of course, which would defeat the entire purpose
Yeah.
of putting you on that one. Yeah. So more
Wow.
meme play here. Trump leaving his staffers in Air Force One as he flees to the trunk. They expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. From The Dark Knight Rises, the beginning, where Bane leaves one of his loyal henchmen to die in a plane after he basically hijacks it and flees. But the plot thickens. The plot thickens as it usually does nowadays. So now we find out CIA called bullshit on Israel's claims that Iran was trying to assassinate Trump in Turkey. After the threat was relayed by the Israeli government to the CIA, one official called the reports Israeli-derived, not U.S.-generated, and viewed as low confidence. He still ended up leaving Air Force One in a sandwich cart, though. Source, Washington Post. So yeah, the Washington Post reports as an exclusive, CIA had low confidence in Iranian threat before Trump switched planes in Turkey. U.S. intelligence officials were skeptical of an Iranian assassination threat against President Donald Trump that was relayed by Israel and prompted an extraordinary clandestine maneuver that saw him secretly fly out of Turkey in an alternate military aircraft, current and former U.S. officials familiar with the intelligence said. The assassination threat was relayed by the Israeli government to the CIA, where analysts did not view the intelligence as compelling and conveyed, that skepticism to Trump administration officials. One of the officials said. Another official called the reports of threats against Trump's life Israeli-derived, not U.S.-generated, and viewed as low confidence. The doubts in some quarters about an imminent threat to the president add a new element to the White House's decision last month, first reported by the Washington Post, to shield Trump's whereabouts as he departed a NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey on July 8th. This was right after the MOU was signed. So this is when Israel had more incentive than they do now to egg Trump on to continue the war, i.e., telling him they're going to blow you out of the sky when there's no intelligence that would corroborate that claim. The White House on Wednesday did not directly answer questions about the intelligence the United States received or how it was perceived by U.S. officials. Quote, as the president has said, he has faced numerous threats on his life, including ones from Iran, and every measure is taken to ensure his safety, a U.S. official said in a statement. Speaking, like others in this report, on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue, i.e., they don't want to get put on the next decoy plane whenever this happens again. The United States Secret Service's core mission is protecting the president, which they achieved. The White House, that's a duplicate. It fit a broader pattern of Israeli intelligence reporting that some officials see as designed as much to shape presidential decision-making as to inform it. A former official familiar with the matter said, i.e., they are likely to make up that the Iranians are threatening to shoot down your plane in order to gin up the president's hatred of Iran to the point where he might restart the war. This person said he understood. This is insane because, as many of you know, if you've been following the day-to-day to this, the only cabinet member that attended the decoy flight with Trump was Hegseth. The others were all on this decoy plane. But here we have, this person said he understood that Secretary of State Marco Rubio was briefed on the Israeli threat intelligence, as well as the subterfuge planned by Secret Service, and nonetheless opted to board the Legacy Air Force One, which presumably would have been a target for Iran. that just tells you what Rubio thinks of Donald Trump and what he thinks of the Iran war. Don't forget, Rubio was one of the guys who told Trump that was bullshit when Netanyahu came and outlined the war plans.
Right.
So Rubio heard all this and said, yeah, no, fuck it. I'm not getting in no fucking catering cart. I'm getting on the plane. This is all a bullshit story anyway. They're not going to do anything. According to the reporting, he felt totally confident getting on Air Force One. Even, according to this, even knowing that Trump was being evacuated, because it said he was aware of the Secret Service plan. And so, yeah, this is the tweet from Jennifer Jacobs, news via CBS. One cabinet secretary was on the secret plane with Trump, Pete Hegseth, when he employed a ruse to evade an Iran threat after the NATO summit. Several White House aides were also on the aircraft without the president, including Stephen Miller, Will Scharf, Stephen Chung, Mike Needham, Ross Worthington, Monica Crowley. So there were a lot of people who were on this decoy plane. I guess Carolyn Leavitt was probably on the decoy plane as well, which we'll get into in the next segment. But Rubio was apparently hip to it, and he decided to stay on. Another U.S. official familiar with the security discussions also questioned the seriousness of the threat, noting that tens of thousands of Turkish security personnel were incorporated into the NATO summit. Jumbo Elliott tweets out, if true, meaning that basically the CIA thought this was bullshit and that Israel basically planted the story to scare Trump, it's last straw for Netanyahu. Confirmed? Well, I would argue with that. I would say, no, this is not the last straw for Netanyahu.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing. And this is evidence of the fact that there's no such thing. This is just more evidence of just how compromised Trump is by Israel. And I don't get why there's resistance to this point, but there is. Imagine anyone humiliated Donald Trump 10% this much, then to make him hide in a catering cart and switch planes based on fake reports of an assassination plot. Imagine anyone embarrassed him in this way. This is a guy who is uniquely vengeful and spiteful and vicious. This is who follows the Roy Cohn playbook for everything in his life, where when you get hit, you hit back 10 times harder. You never show an ounce of restraint. You're gonna let them fucking humiliate you like that? You get wheeled off in a fucking food cart to a decoy plane, and now it comes out that they were only doing this to scare you, and they were only doing this to bully you into doing their bidding. And last straw for Netanyahu? No. You're not hearing any shit about this. Not a word about this from Trump. Like, he will let the Israelis drag him up and down the street 100 times over, back and forth, and not say shit. Is it in his character to let anybody fuck with him like this? No, except the Israelis. And so, I mean, I don't know why this is even still being debated. Like, if this doesn't tell you how under their thumb he is, I don't know what does.
Or is it like Trump to have some no-name kid who appeared in a BlackRock commercial accused of being the sole shooter to try to assassinate him in Butler, and then become the president and not turn the place upside down to find out what really happened? Is it like Trump not to say, hey, there's something funny about paving over a crime scene right after Charlie Kirk got killed. I think we better look into that. Does that really add up? Does that make any sense? Trump has great instincts for where the base is, right? Can you imagine how much support he would have gotten if he said, you know what, I'm firing cash. He messed up the Charlie Kirk investigation. I'm getting a real FBI director who's going to get to the bottom of this. He didn't do it. You don't hear him say a fucking word about that shit. Not a word about it. Yeah, man. How much is he in the Epstein files? Was he in half the Epstein files, this guy? And he doesn't want to release the Epstein files?
Yeah.
Obviously, they got a lot of shit on him. It's really the only explanation, because he's bought by a lot of people that he stabs in the back later. He doesn't care about anything. You can't buy that guy's loyalty. He doesn't have any to buy.
Right.
So
Exactly.
why would he submit like this, pulling out Netanyahu's chair, these acts of submission? There's no way, man. There's no way. If the government of Luxembourg did 1% of this, he'd go on a deranged rant and impose a trade embargo.
Right.
There'd be no further dealings with Luxembourg ever again as long as he's the president. No, of course he's compromised. The only question is, how much is it that he's afraid they're going to whack him? Because the whole government is compromised. It's not just him. Like, if he turns around and says, I want to tell the Israelis to go fuck themselves, who are his allies?
Right.
Anywhere, in any branch of the government, either of the political parties, where are his allies?
Right. Exactly. All right. Little B part to this. Quickly, we got some news, of course, over the last couple of days. In fact, I think this was last night. Came across the wire. Caitlin Collins from CNN tweets out the Truth Social announcement that Carolyn Leavitt stepping down as press secretary. Donald J. Trump, our wonderful White House press secretary and one of my most trusted aides, Carolyn Leavitt, will be departing her role at the end of the month so she can spend more time with her beautiful young children and family, a decision I totally understand and respect. Caroline will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party as we work to defy history and conclusively win the midterm elections. Caroline has been a real leader in the White House and has done a phenomenal job fighting for justice, liberty, freedom since 2018, including our historic re-election campaign of 2024. Caroline has been one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office. Thank you, Caroline, for a job well done. President Donald J. Trump. And so Reuters puts out here just a kind of retrospective here on the greatest hits of Caroline Leavitt here. Let's take a quick look at this.
Here are the facts. President Trump did nothing wrong. We are going to hold those lies accountable. He also is the most transparent president in history. Good afternoon, everybody.
What did the president mean when he called reporter piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves, and I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of his frankness. And he calls out fake news when he sees it.
Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. I did not say the documents are a hoax. I said the entire narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein right now that is
I went down on Melania. I
many of
said,
the
hang on, this
cable
is very
channels
salty.
on television.
Turned out it was
is a hoax that is
Jeffrey's
being
cum was
perpetuated
down.
by opportunistic Democrats.
Why was
Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my
Yeah.
opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed it unjustified.
They call that a
Okay,
cream
so
pie.
you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want
Cream
me to
pie
do?
or
Yeah,
before we're
because you're a
married, not
left-wing
after.
hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat.
So some of the greatest hits of Caroline Leavitt. Hey, remember this guy? Russell Brand, family first. Yeah. She's going to spend more time with her family. Yeah, this guy's an inspiration.
You're not helping, man. You're really not helping.
Yeah, no, family first. Yeah, real family man, this man. Yeah.
The Eggman.
If you are, he is an inspiration to aspiring podcasters. Like, if this guy still has an audience of people who take him seriously, then anyone could do this. Like, anyone. Like, imagine taking Russell Brand at face value now, that these are his opinions. Yeah, family first. Family first is his response to Carolyn Leavitt. But, of course, here's where this story kind of gets a little complicated because given the news about the infamous catering cart escape, Brian Krasenstein, Carolyn Leavitt announced her resignation 24 hours after she found out that Trump left her for dead on a plane he thought would be shot out of the sky. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, you kind of withheld that information from her. She probably is very offended. She's like, listen, Mr. President, the whole point of marrying a guy 30 years my senior who's got a bunch of money is I have to outlive him. All right, that's the whole reason you marry a guy who's older and who has money is because he's going to die and you're going to it doesn't work if he outlives me. Then there's no point, right?
Do you know how many days I had to put into giving him an erection in order to impregnate me so he can't get out of the deal later?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if you leave me for dead on the decoy flight, that really fucks up my plan. And here, call to activism, breaking. Trump announced Carolyn Leavitt's departure to spend more time with family. In a leaked video from last night, she looks visibly isolated during a tense Marine One exchange with Trump and another woman. Hours later, she's out. Is the White House covering up something? So yeah, here is some video. This was right around the time that all this news was breaking, you know, about the decoy and all that, the escape plan that she was not made aware of. You see some of the pointing of the fingers. Now this was...
So the way this would have worked out is you would have lived and I would have died.
Yeah.
Was that the plan?
Well, Russ
I'm texting my husband.
Yeah, exactly. Russ is, of course, speculating because this video has no audio of conversation. There was actually a second video that just broke before we went on the air that I was able to grab that actually does have some of the mic'd up audio, some of the hot mic audio from inside Marine One. So let's take a look at the actual conversation between Carolyn Leavitt and Donald Trump.
You're gonna kick my ass. That's right. I'm gonna kick your ass. You wanna throw down, dog? I'll throw down. I'm standing right here. Let's go, bitch.
That's take a listen. Take a listen one more time.
You're gonna kick my ass.
Yeah,
That's
see?
right. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Not getting along.
You wanna throw down, dog? I'll throw down. I'm standing right here. Let's go, bitch.
So that sheds some light into why she stepped down. Maybe
There's
it
some
wasn't
insight
family.
there.
Yeah, get some insight there that we did not have before. Trouble in paradise. Yeah, no, of course. Look, the more time with family is the oldest excuse in the book. You quit right going into midterms, like coming down the home stretch before the midterms is when you're going to quit to spend more time with family. That's something you do after the midterms, not a few months before. Who knows? Could she be not wanting to have to endure what is going to be a pretty brutal home stretch of the midterms, or is she upset, as Krasenstein said, that he left her for dead on the decoy plane? It's one of those two things. Maybe a little bit of both, maybe a lot of both, but it's definitely not that she needs to spend more time with her older husband and kids. She's got plenty of time for that. I think she probably was a little upset to learn of this catering cart maneuver. And I also think she is of the correct understanding that the next couple of months are not going to be so pleasant. So good luck to Carolyn Leavitt.
I'm going to tell you what I told my geriatric husband when he wanted to stick a straw up my ass. I have limits, sir.
Yeah,
I have limits, and you've just hit my limit.
That's right.
Leaving me for dead on Air Force One is my limit. Yeah. I mean, it's funny seeing one of the worst people on earth draw a line somewhere. Right. I would wager that timing is no coincidence, because her, like, she's an ass peddler, man. Like, come on, you're freaking married to some rich guy in his 60s. I mean, she's just a whore. So, like, what would make her quit this job? Okay. Right. You literally, in spite of the fact that I have degraded myself for a couple of years now, pretending you're not the PDF file in chief. I even going out there and peddling Jesus with my cross, pretending that somehow I'm a Christian woman as I defend your cabal of PDF files.
Right.
And you're just going to you don't even give me the option of
To
not
come with you?
flying on this plane.
Yeah.
I think that's what did it.
Yeah,
I think that's
probably.
what did it.
Probably. I mean, yeah, because, I could see being genuinely offended by that. Especially Hegseth goes off with them. Just leave the rest of them and the hell with it.
I'd be
Fly on it.
surprised if that's not what did it.
I think that's probably the case. Yes, indeed. All right. What do we got over here? Vianticus Prime says, will people please stop tying in the chat, alternating between capital and lowercase letters? Some of our comrades have spastic ocular colon disease that you could be triggering. Thank you. Good one. Point of privilege. I paid for this super chat. I need to point out that I'm ashamed for not only having the privilege to pay for a super chat, but also using my privilege to super chat. I'm sorry, all. Thank you for that apology, Vianticus. We're a sex-positive place here. The rumors that you can get like button herpes are merely rumors. There is no evidence this is true, so please smash. Thank you, Vianticus. Ugly old broad says stuff. Point of privilege. I paid for this rant for the privilege of busting Keaton's sensitive boomer indigenous hating balls. Boomer indigenous hating balls? Vianticus, can we all just take a moment of silence for our comrades who suffer from overly sensitive tuffy taint syndrome? They sit through these streams and suffer in silence, but you are not alone, comrades. Good point. Albu Kid says the woke PMC cancel culture seem like other names for Trotskyites. It's like those dumb trust building games at workplace retreats where we had to figure out who was secretly sabotaging the group's plan. Thank you, Albu Kid. The cabinet and the press weren't invited to the secret Lolita Express flight. Yeah, that's right. Trump had to switch because his new bimbo, Natalie Harp, got on the wrong plane. Plus, he wanted privacy. Vianticus Prime, they enticed Trump over with McDonald's. Thank you, Vianticus. Trump was led over to the other plane by Star of David nipple clamps. Nocturnal Human. Trump is now literally Cartman. Yeah, I saw that chat come in before the gag, and I was like, it's funny that you came to that same conclusion, right? Roma Rosker. Russ, what's the blonde lady? Who's a blonde lady with you and Jimmy in a picture on your Facebook page? Said it was from about 10 weeks ago.
That is
from Facebook.
That is Jesus, man.
That would have been what's her name? The singer, right? Nellie McKay.
It's Nellie McKay.
Nellie McKay. Okay. Romer Oscar. I hope Jimmy and Steph didn't break up. No. Nellie McKay. Or is that the same? No. It's a
that's Jimmy was in town without Steph. We had a late dinner.
No, but that's not the same guy.
And she was in town.
Yeah. No, they didn't break. Of course they didn't break up. They just had their anniversary. That's what they say. They announced it on the stream.
Those two will never break up. And I don't say that often. I'm pretty cynical about those things.
Usually when I say things like that, I don't mean them.
Yeah.
But in this case, I do.
Well, I usually just won't say things like that.
Right.
But like I'm pretty right when I say people are gonna stay together. Like you and Amanda.
Right.
To the death.
There you go. We just hope the death is later than
much later. Yes, I'm not saying I see that coming anytime soon. Just you guys won't split up
till the death or by the end of the year, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
All right. You want to take some chats over there?
Sure. Esteban Magan, thank you, sir. And I'm poor and not a big fan of police. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying, man. It's poor neighborhoods. It's complicated. Yeah, poor people understand how optional Miranda warnings and the Constitution are for police in a way that middle and upper class people never will.
Right.
Poor people understand that the police do whatever the fuck they want.
Of course.
And you grow up with an ethos of keep your mouth shut and don't rat, right? Like, yeah, poor people have an inherently antagonistic relationship with the police. I'm not saying that. And neither are, more broadly, polling of the Black community is, they want police reform. But so do most people, right? But if you are in a neighborhood where crackheads literally might break into your house, yeah, man, you're probably going to see the police as the lesser evil to the crackheads, right? The police probably won't shoot me. The crackheads breaking in my house definitely will. So, yeah, I don't want to see less police here, Right? It's just, it is what it is. Doesn't mean they love the police. Steve, I'm very torn on Tucker Carlson. His recent interviews with Jimmy Dore, Trita Parsi, and Roger Waters were brilliant, but his propping up of Vance is troubling. Do you guys think he's an op? It's very funny you say that. I prepared an entire segment that I'll probably hold to Sunday now because we're going pretty late.
Yeah, it's going pretty late.
Well, I wouldn't mind reworking that anyway. I mean, maybe I will do it as a shit post.
Yeah.
Don't
forget, now we're at 2 shows a week. You could do pre-recorded stuff,
Exactly. And it's not like breaking news at this point.
Right.
It is more of a think piece essay. Yes. So I have a whole thing about how Tucker's an op, and that's why he keeps putting Cooper on, because he's a fucking op too.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why all of these Silicon Valley oligarchs keep going to the same warm, wet mouth of Mr. Joe Rogan to push their agenda and to push who? JD Vance. They're all pushing JD Vance. What, you think that's an accident that they all land on JD Vance together? They're tying anti-communist propaganda to supporting JD Vance. They're pushing an overall agenda. So yes, I'm going to turn that into probably a shit post.
All right, we are at 783 in the like column.
Declaring independence, our friend Mr. Jose Vega.
Jose, yeah.
I was going to ask you if you want to go to Coney Island. I forgot to ask you though. We could go out there and find Norm.
Yeah.
Go show up at Norm's house. AOC looks up at me while twiddling her thumbs. You'll forgive me for endorsing genocide at the DNC convention, right? Me. Oh, well, when you put it that way, you better not let your girl see that tweet. So he's got a lady. She ain't going to like that. Esteban, listen, Jose, I'm going to give you some advice as an old guy. Even if she laughs, she's going to get back at you for that shit. She'll pretend to be cool with it. She ain't.
Maybe they can
no
be
matter what she
polyamorous.
tells you, she ain't.
Maybe they can be polyamorous. Maybe they could. They become a what do they call it? A polycule and join the DSA.
Yeah.
They'll be
there
they'll
was
join
just
DSA and become a polycule.
There was just an article about how cuckolding can be healthy for some couples.
Yeah, we just call it a polycule.
Yeah.
Say what? I thought we were a polycule.
Those are usually the same couples that don't allow clapping at meetings.
Right.
Esteban Magan, the Dems lost because they're Republicans. Yes, that's part of it. I mean, this is honestly, I don't know Wisconsin politics any more than Keaton does. Seems to me that if you got the guy they put in now, what's his name?
Crowley.
Wesley Bell. Right? That's the one who
this
beat,
guy is Crowley.
Hung?
No, Wesley Bell is the one who beat Cory Bush. This is Crowley. Yeah.
This is Crowley.
There's no guarantee this guy wins. I'm not saying he's going to win. I wouldn't be shocked if he lost.
If
but
you
I
look
think,
at it, if you look at his policies, they're so Republican that the basic view when you run a Republican against a Republican, people vote for the Republican. I would imagine that's going to apply there because what the hell would you vote for this guy for?
Yeah, I'm not
He
sure.
looks
he'll
like
win.
a really weak candidate. Really weak.
Well, he is a weak candidate. He literally dropped out of the race.
He had to drop out, and they just basically bought it in this case, and she was talentless enough for it to be bought from her. She had some talent; it probably wouldn't have worked. Partly because he sucks so bad. He's so he's not really any better than her, but he just had an enormous amount of money behind him.
No, and the idea that from their perspective, he's going to be harder to attack in ways that land with like independents and conservatives. And, he will be, I think, I forget the exact number, but I think he'll only be like the 4th or 5th black governor ever elected in the United States. It's very rare to elect black governor.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Milwaukee's a very black city where there's a lot of turnout to be juiced there. So there's a plausible case for him. And, may there have been a plausible case for her? Yeah, but the calculus was it wasn't as plausible. Now, could he lose anyway? Absolutely. Like, would I be shocked if he loses? No.
I think so. He's awful. Every clip I've seen of him, he's just cringe.
Yeah.
Dendro Bates. Yeah, DC Professor Zoom / Reverse Flash, not to be confused with Zoom Hunter Zolomon, most petty character in fiction. Sole purpose is to mess with Barry. Oh yeah. See, I knew it had to be a DC thing because I don't know it. Brad Gilbert, let me guess who alleged it. Could be Israel? Could it be Israel? Brad Gilbert, Chump was the PB&J between BB and Miriam.
That's right.
Brad Gilbert, Crooks wasn't supposed to be seen and they'd blame Iran. And we got Mark Adams, $20. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
I'll read your chat while I'm here. Mark Adams, please look up Iran hackers. Okay. What is that about? I was just watching something the other day dealing with how, North Korea is having this economic boom. And part of it is just they got lucky. They had all of these stockpiled Soviet era munitions that Russia needs because that's what their weapons take. They need those shells. So that's a big part of why their economy is booming. But it's also apparently North Korea is the hacking capital of the world. They literally have state-sponsored teams of hackers to steal crypto and stuff from around the world. So yeah. So I ain't got no money in that shit.
That's right. All right. Let's do our final segment of the afternoon, shall we?
All right. We're calling this one Ship Goes to Shit.
There you go.
All right. So this story has been brewing for a while. This is back in April. You might remember. I think we covered this. I'm almost positive. Images of food served to sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Tripoli published by USA Today. Supplies are going to get really low and morale is going to be at an all-time low, one sailor messaged his mother. So, yeah, that looks pretty nasty. And there's not, and as the old joke goes, and such small portions. Terrible food, very small portions. Now this seems to all be coming to a head. The USS Abraham Lincoln left San Diego last November for what was supposed to be a routine deployment. It's now been at sea 208 straight days, a modern Navy record with no return date in sight. Nearly 5,000 sailors and Marines are still out there. What's happening on board? Moldy showers, food shortages, sailors running out of toothpaste, deodorant, soap, broken plumbing, collapsing morale. Families say the exhaustion has gotten so bad, they're worried it could lead to deadly mistakes. Today, multiple sailors have reportedly attempted to go overboard. 9 months deployed, 5 straight months of combat operations against Iran. This is what endless war footing actually looks like for the people living it. When families pressed the Navy for a timeline, Acting Navy Secretary Hung Kao told them the Roosevelt Strike Group is being prepped to relieve the Lincoln, but he couldn't give them a date. Senator Cory Booker's response, this is a profound failure of leadership and a betrayal of those who serve. Okay, so there is a video. This is cut from an MS Now report.
Told me there's a time where he was only eating half a cup of rice and 2 tortillas.
That's the mother of a sailor on the USS Abraham Lincoln, one of the aircraft carriers that's been deployed to the war in Iran. It appears as though their deployment has been extended for a second time with no end in sight. I spoke to about a dozen or so family members of the 5,000 sailors and Marines who are on the Lincoln, and they told me about some horrific conditions on the ship. They said that their loved ones are telling them about moldy showers, a lack of hot water for weeks at a time, non-operational laundry facilities, toilets that aren't working, a lack of food, and that sometimes their loved ones are standing in line for 1 to 2 hours to get into the ship's store. And once they get there, they're lacking in basic hygiene supplies like toothpaste, soap, and deodorant. They also talked to me about the exhaustion that they're worried about their sailors and Marines facing. These guys are working 12 to 14-hour shifts. Many of them haven't had a day off in months, and the flight deck on an aircraft carrier is extremely dangerous. You have high-speed aircraft launching and landing on the flight deck, and they're worried that this exhaustion plus the low morale could lead to accidents that could potentially be deadly.
They want our support, and part of that support means we have to have the tools to do our job. That means the fuel, that means the food, right? That means the food, that means the toothpaste and the deodorant, that means all of it.
A spokesperson for Navy's Fifth Fleet says that he understands that this has been an extremely challenging deployment, but they have made chaplains and mental health teams available for the service members, along with fitness classes at the gym. He says that
they get classes at the gym.
Has since been repaired.
Oh, so you've got completely exhausted, starved, overworked sailors have access to a gym. Oh yeah, that's where they're gonna go at the end of their shift. They're going to go work out.
You can get a discount cameo video from Pete Hegseth's nephew.
And that there have been a few issues with supply, but that's because of the geography of where the ship was located and also logistical concerns. But he says that the ship is able to meet any sort of mission tasking. The families that I spoke to said that they really want the conversations right now to be about the service members and not about the stockpiles of weapons and money. But most importantly, what they really want is for their loved ones to come home.
Like, you can push the military, you can push these people, but make sure that they have what they need. They can't just do these things for themselves. They're stuck. You've essentially stranded them out there. And you're like, well, deal with it.
You know, I just can't believe with this crackerjack ball club that we got over there running the military. I can't believe it's going this way. Look at what a lineup we got.
And the first
Look at that set there. Oh yeah. No, that guy looks like somebody who should be running the world's largest military.
Play that again. I want people to see that one more time with the
By the way, I'm
blowing the nose.
Minnesota. So I sweat like a son of a bitch. This is South Carolina in August.
This guy's fucking, he's jonesing, man. He's jonesing. This guy needs a drink.
And the first
See him? He wipes his nose, runs it through his hair.
Air Force Base was called the Spirit of Charleston.
You know what that guy doesn't worry about? Hygiene.
Yeah.
That's a man who is not concerned about hygiene. I have never in my life ever heard of anything like this in the military. I don't know that anything like this has happened, honestly, since the revolution, since the Revolutionary War, where they didn't supply adequate rations to troops in the field like this on a consistent basis, not as like a freak logistics accident, but for months after month. I honestly, outside of the American Revolution, I don't know if this has happened in American history, that you've had a crew this just absolutely incompetent at the most basic elements of war that would commit to a war like this, and you just don't have anyone competent enough to work the angles. I saw a tweet the other day that said most Romans didn't know the Roman Empire had collapsed. They figured it out when the roads stopped getting fixed.
Right.
It's kind of where we are, right? Like, yeah, officially the empire hasn't collapsed, but when you got warships where you can't supply basic necessities like toothpaste and food, that suggests maybe the empire's already collapsed. And that was, by the way, that tweet was in regards to the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which they now say won't open until 2030. And the tweet pointed out Iran has already rebuilt all the bridges we bombed. Aaron Parnas, exclusive text messages from a service member aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln show horrific conditions. We're going to read that. Why isn't there milk? So the supply ship, this is the sailor. So the supply ship that comes here can't bring fruits and stuff because it can't stay fresh long enough with the time it gets them to get here. Response. Wow. Any idea who is supposed to come relieve you guys in August? So we haven't had anything fresh but meat because it's freezed. Sometimes it gets here rotten. Repulsive. Yeah, families are just as frustrated as the people on the boat. This deployment is the worst one, and I pray no other boat goes through the same. Even people that have been deployed 100 times claim this is one of the worst and believe it can get worse than this. The Navy does not care. The mission will always come first. I was talking to some random dude at the smoke pit, and he was saying it's an experiment the government is doing to see how far they can push sailors' limits of being out to sea with the worst experience. Yeah, he was bald and he kind of talked like this. I don't know what he was doing on the ship. I don't know anymore. I know my family needs me, and the Navy is not being fair right now, taking me away far longer than expected. Worst part, my expectations were already at an all-time low. But as per usual, the Navy beat those two by going lower than hell. So there's that. And this was just breaking a couple days ago. 6 people have tried to jump off the USS Lincoln. The most recent was last Monday. And this is Andrew Brown, who claims to have some connections to the ship.
There's a mental health crisis happening aboard the USS Lincoln in the Middle East that no one is talking about, and mainly because the Navy's pretty much quashing it. You will read online about food shortages, supply shortages, poor morale among crew members. That's because they've been at sea continuously for 250 days. They've been deployed a total of 271 days, 250 without a port of call. That's unheard of. Normally, they would go to port every 3 to 6 weeks. They have not been to port in 38 weeks. Keep in mind, there are 52 weeks in a year. And yes, the showers are moldy. They're eating basically like a gruel kind of slop at this point. There's no deodorant. There's no toothpaste. My nephew has a friend on board there, and I was basically hearing updates last week when I was in the States in real time. They're not talking about the mental health crisis. 6 people have tried to jump off that ship. The most recent was last Monday. You know, when you have not touched land in 38 weeks, in over 200 days, things start to happen to you mentally. You know, combine that with exhaustion and deadly mistakes start to happen. So, you know, this is how the Department of War, this is how Donald Trump treats our servicemen and women, whose lives are already being put in harm's way for a bullshit war of aggression that was supposed to be over in a matter of weeks. We are further putting their lives at risk out of sheer ineptitude and neglect. It defies logic, it defies reason, and it defies basic fucking humanity.
Yeah, having grown up in the post-Vietnam era, where you had all of these Vietnam vets getting cancer from Agent Orange, even seeing the aftermath of the Gulf War. We had Gulf War syndrome, where they fought tooth and nail not to compensate these sailors. It should be painfully obvious by now that they like to celebrate you in commercials and memorials and Veterans Day. They don't actually give a flying fuck about service members, not while they're serving, and certainly not after they're serving. I mean, how many homeless vets are there in this country? That shouldn't even exist if you care so much about the people who served. So really, you know, I watched Sabby's segment on this. She came from a military family. She really emphasized this, and I will second it. Don't enlist. I come from that kind of neighborhood where that's the only way out of the neighborhood, and a lot of guys enlist. I get it, but is it worth this? Is it worth this? And especially now, it was never good, but it's worse than it's ever been from what I can see. Like, they're not even going to give you toothpaste now. Like, this is, yeah. I do not join the military. If this doesn't show you that, I don't know what would. This from the Navy Times. Multiple USS Abraham Lincoln sailors have tried to go overboard amid extended deployment, families say. Annabelle Loma has spoken with her husband only a few times since he attempted to jump overboard from the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln during his current deployment. Communication has been difficult to come by, and he is now on medical hold. Loma, who lives in San Diego, said her husband had been repeatedly overextended before he tried to jump from the carrier. He's scared, Loma said. He thinks he'll get a dishonorable discharge, and just because he was burnt out, his 13-year career is ruined just like that. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not what he should be worrying about right now. Loma said she initially received a call from the ship's ombudsman after the incident, but has not heard from anyone with the Navy in recent weeks. In a separate incident aboard Lincoln, a sailor on watch saw a shipmate preparing to go overboard, and he intervened, according to the sailor's wife, Maria Rodriguez. Rodriguez said her husband called out to the sailor before reaching the individual and grabbing their arms, pulling them onto the deck. Her husband told her the sailor had not yet gone over the side when he got there. 3 other sailors heard the commotion and came running to help. Separately, Stars and Stripes reported Tuesday that sailors described an incident in which watchstanders stopped a crew member from jumping overboard. Stripes reported that the crew was informed about the incident through a ship-wide announcement. Yeah, we just want you to know another one tried to jump overboard, so don't do that. It's bad for morale. Please don't do that. So this is from Press TV. This is unconfirmed, and it comes from, it originated with the Iranian news service. We don't know if it's true, but this is making the rounds right now. Deadly clash aboard U.S. carrier Abraham Lincoln leaves 7 dead, several injured. 7 U.S. Navy personnel have reportedly been killed and several others wounded in a violent clash aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, as growing unrest among the carrier's crew has exposed mounting pressure inside the U.S. military amid a prolonged deployment. The incident erupted after an advisor to U.S. Central Command Chief Brad Cooper boarded the carrier to address mounting complaints from crew members following protests by their families over the ship's prolonged deployment, according to Tasnim news agency, citing an informed military source. The advisor was reportedly met with boos and had water bottles thrown at him while addressing a gathering of personnel. The confrontation subsequently escalated into a fight among crew members involving knives and other bladed weapons, leaving 7 personnel dead and several others wounded, according to the source. The atmosphere aboard the carrier remains tense and unsettled, Tasnim reported. Now, given that, at least the last I saw, they have not refuted this report, I'm inclined to believe that this is true, because this is the kind of thing they would immediately come out and debunk if it were a rumor. And this had already been out there for a day when I was putting this together, and there was no refutation from the U.S. At a meeting in San Diego on Thursday, around 200 relatives confronted acting U.S. Navy Secretary Hong Kao over conditions aboard the carrier and the lack of a clear date for the crew's return home. The reported deaths aboard the Abraham Lincoln follow another serious incident involving the USS Gerald R. Ford. On March 12, 2026, a fire broke out in living quarters housing around 600 crew members, leaving 200 personnel injured. The Gerald R. Ford subsequently took the injured to a naval facility on the Greek island of Crete before being forced to return to the United States. Now, a lot of people believe that was sabotage on the part of the sailors. They were similarly facing a brutal, long deployment with inadequate food, bathroom, and hygiene facilities. A lot of people believe they were sabotaging the toilets themselves, or that they started that fire. We don't know that, but it sounds like the USS Abraham Lincoln is in a much worse position. It just speaks to the total incompetence of this administration, the total incompetence of Pete Hegseth in particular. We talked about this in regards to why previous presidents, even awful ones like Joe Biden, could not be talked into this. And Israel tried the same song and dance with everyone. Yeah, it's partly that none of them had videos of raping kids on Epstein Island. I personally believe that's a big part of the reason. I think it's also they all had whatever their failings as human beings. They all had relatively competent technocrats at the worst as defense secretary laying this out for them. Logistics support is going to be a nightmare. The Iranians can hit our ships at any time. It's going to be very difficult to resupply our carriers. A Lloyd Austin would have laid all that out, I'm sure, for melting brain Joe. And even in his state of mental decline, that sounds like it's the Fakalima. It's going to be going sideways in the ocean there.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it. Trump is so compromised, they got him to do it. And Pete Hegseth is so incompetent, he didn't lay out for him how dire the consequences would be. In fact, according to reports, he was one of the few who was for it. Rubio, no more dyed-in-the-wool Zionist than Rubio. He said this is bullshit, right? He knew what the consequences would be. However much of a Zionist you are, you don't want to be on the hook for this.
Right.
And they understood. Anyone with an ounce of competence understood. You got a shaky, drunk beta male as the Secretary of War, your so-called Secretary of War. This is what you get. I don't think Pete Hegseth has the basic operational competence to even have worked through a planning for this, even if he had wanted to. He's a TV pretty boy that you put in charge of the world's largest military. This is William Hurt in broadcast news, only instead of just letting him read the news, you put him in charge of the company.
Right.
This guy's not capable of doing this job, and these poor sailors are paying for it.
Yeah. No, he is a TV bimbo who is driven most by ego and by, the temptation of being, a victorious wartime leader. It's completely delusional. And yeah, only someone like him would, basically take the bait from Netanyahu, which is what happened. I mean, it's pretty obvious that that's what happened.
Right.
Like, there are a lot of very soulless and evil people in Trump's orbit, but the ones with a brain between their ears said, no, we can't do this. We can't do this. And that's because they're cut from the same sort of technocratic cloth as their predecessors, who also told, very soulless / stupid presidents like Joe Biden and George W. Bush, no, you can't do this.
Right.
You can't do this. John Kiriakou said the Israelis lobby every president to do this, and they all said no except this one. And yeah, this is just one of many reasons why it was such an obviously horrible idea from jump. And now you have reports, even this latest one that you just read, even that notwithstanding, since that's unconfirmed, these reports that, sailors are trying to jump overboard. I mean, that seems confirmed.
That's confirmed.
That's pretty fucking horrible when you think about it. I mean, think about that. It's
how
like a
bad
jail.
does it have to be?
Yeah. It's like you have a jail at sea and they can't get out. And how are you going to get support to them? Like I said, Iran has the military capabilities that Iraq didn't have. And geographically, just look where they're located. It's just it's an absolute nightmare, and we've seen reports coming off of this ship in the past. And yeah, this was supposed to be a 4-week operation. Funny how every time they say, "Oh yeah, it's going to be no time. We're going to be in and out."
We'll be greeted as liberators.
Yep, exactly. All right, we're going to take some chats before we wrap. Before we do that, I just have a quick word from Rumble Wallet. We've been getting some Rumble rants through Rumble Wallet, which is great to see because technology has changed the way the economy works and it's changed the way people manage their money. And Rumble Wallet takes all of that complexity and makes it super simple. When you sign up for the Rumble Wallet, you can choose Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects you with MoonPay as soon as you sign up, so you can use your credit card, your debit card, or your bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you can support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly. Several of you have done that already, which is cool because we keep essentially 100%, almost 100% minus, I guess, a transaction fee when we go to withdraw of what you give us when you Rumble rant us through the Rumble wallet. The platform takes 0 fees. And so get started now. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description and download the Rumble wallet. You can also go to wallet.rumble.com, and from there, you can get set up in minutes. Super easy. Tap buy, and you're in the game. So go to wallet.rumble.com, scan that QR code on the screen, and get ranting with your new Rumble wallet. All right. You want to take the chats, and I'll copy the rants over?
Sure. Andy Gardner, LMAO, Russell Brand. Jesus.
Yeah, that guy's still going.
Look, man, it's a sad thing, but a lot of what goes on, it's just a newfangled version of the corporate media. Like, people have a parasocial relationship with the Morning Joe, right?
Right.
Like they do. They think those are their buddies. They think those are their friends. It's the same thing with someone like Russell Brand. He has his people who think they have a relationship with him, and they'll keep watching him no matter what. La Senora Chamanik, Yu-Gi-Oh cards be the new currency when the dollar flops. What is that? I don't know what that is.
What is that? What was that?
Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like a version of Pokemon cards.
Oh, yeah? I never heard of it. Kay Harlem, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Have you all seen the videos of people tagging Mamdani about problems in the city, and the next day they come back and it's fixed? I saw one about a pothole.
Yeah, pothole, or there was something like a water fountain in the park or something too, I think.
Yes. One of the things, I mean, strategically and logistically, I've been most impressed with Mamdani is he went in understanding how important basic competence is, how if you don't get that right, it doesn't matter what else you want to do. Your approval ratings are going to go in the toilet very quickly. And however he's doing it, man, he arranged his administration to be able to do things like that. There has to be, like, he had to have thought that through ahead of time, that you're going to have the logistic organizational capacity to immediately respond to these kinds of complaints.
Right.
Never seen that in my life. Star Fury 1000. While serving with the U.S. Army in Iraq in 2003, even we soldiers had soap, toothpaste, showers, a dentist, steak, and beer. Hell, Baghdad had a Burger King. Swear to God.
I believe it.
Yeah, man, this is what I'm saying. I've never even heard of anything like this. Not in Nam, not anywhere, man. I've never heard of a situation like this. Brad Gilbert, Top Gun 3, tie sailors to jet and fly to Iran for safety. No, I mean, they're talking about how dangerous it is to have malnourished, exhausted sailors on these flight decks because it's already so dangerous. You can get sucked into the planes, you can get run over, you can get burned to death. Per Lloydstrat, woke 2 from Latinx to Latinx.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Speaking of, because you did your Alex Jones impression during that last segment, our friend Rex Jones tonight has Michael Tracy on the show, so that'll be entertaining.
It's tonight.
Yeah,
I thought it
Rex
happened
Jones.
already.
I thought it happened already too, because he does 2 shows. He does a morning show and an evening show, so I thought it was on the morning show
every day.
He does a more. Well, he doesn't do the evening show every day. I think he does the morning show 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he does his evening
That's
show
hardcore.
2 days a week. Oh yeah, no, he's getting to be a real pro, obviously. But no, he texted me this morning and said he's got Michael Tracy on tonight, so that should be pretty entertaining. That's going to be 8 o'clock. He just said it thinks he's going to go live around 8 o'clock on the Gray Area, YouTube and Rumble. So yeah, tune in. That should be fun. That should be fun. That'll be a time. Raven Laz, AOC is following in Kamala's footsteps, except she's wiser about it. She bought some knee pads. What do you think? Why do you think she's single now? Ha. Vientica's prime press secretary is such a bullshit uniparty job. You really saw that when you noticed going from Kellyanne Conway to Lesbian Brown. Brown and Gabe. What's her name? What's her name? I forget her name. Jean-Pierre.
Corinne Jean-Pierre.
Ugly old broad says stuff. The only reason Leavitt left is because she couldn't justify her continued lying when her kids get old enough to confront her about it. Kenman, Hunter Biden might be a Nepo. Yeah, exactly. Might be a Nepo baby, but he's working tirelessly to get some fire into AOC's pants. She said it herself. Vientikis, I'm legitimately surprised there hasn't been a mutiny. Yeah. Professor Brown, no. Monty Python. See, I don't know the Monty Python gay voice. Do you know that, Russell? Can you do that?
Hello, sailors. We got a supply of lettuce. Taco Friday. Are you talking about the military ferry march thing from Meaning of Life?
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. Stoop sign. The troops need the Sarah McLachlan arms of an angel treatment. For just 39 cents a day, you can send your loved one some much needed testosterone. Yeah, that's right. Ugly old broad says stuff. Russ, they have used military for lab monkeys for hundreds of years. The conditions on these warships strike me as yet another experiment to see how long they can go before certain things happen.
I mean, that's apparently what that mysterious sailor thought.
Yeah.
Talking to them in the smoke pit.
Silver lining, says Professor Brown, note with scurvy and no toothpaste, imagining the pleasuring the sailors will be able to give each other. Ravid Laz, they're feeding them literal goy slop. I don't know any of that food is kosher. I doubt it. The final straw that ended my marriage was that my wife enlisted. She did that after I told her about all the horrible experiences and told her I was not going back to that. Oh, really? Is that right?
Wow.
Vientikis? I did not know that.
That's a crazy story.
That is a crazy story, is right. Kirk the 11, my new porn star name is Hung Cow. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Hung Cow. Yeah, no provisions, but DJT gets a ballroom. Again, the revolution will not be televised. Thank you, sir. Ugly old broad says stuff. They killed the draft in order to enlist more scrubs. They did it economically by making people poorer. The desperate enlisted to survive and supported their families. The elite don't give a damn. Stoop sign says, most of my close friends went to the military after high school. One of them got a good setup with the GI Bill, but I still went to college for under $20K. Got an interview with the ACLU at $24 an hour. Catch. Thank you, Stoop sign. So, Keaton, you're looking mighty young these days. What beside that awesome chicken soup is good for your complexion? I don't know. I look young when I shave. When I'm clean shaven, I look very young, and then I look more my age when I have the beard. I think that's it. I think that's it. There's no big secret. I don't.
This is why you want to have kids young, man, because when you see people who have kids in their 50s, man, they look 70 within a year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. 100%. All right, you got one more over there.
Why I won't even get a cat.
Yeah.
Smitty Brooklyn. So the sailors want to be comfortable when committing war crimes. They cannot get me to care. I think that any successful left movement that's ever been has tried to educate the military and the workers and not rejected them for not having that education. I don't think that's productive.
I agree. All right, everybody. That's our show. I want to thank you very much for being here today. We will see you back here on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, where I will be here, but I will be in the co-host chair. I will be on Kurt Metzger.
He's riding shotgun.
I'm riding shotgun.
He's in the bitch seat.
I'm in the bitch seat on Sunday. I'm not prepping segments for Sunday because it is my wife Amanda's 40th birthday on Sunday. So happy birthday in advance.
Married an older woman.
Yes, that's right. 3 months my senior. So happy birthday to Amanda in advance. But I will be here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks everybody very much for being here. The YouTubers, the Rumblers, thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. Appreciate you all very much. Until we see you on Sunday. Until whenever we see you again, thanks again. Please do smash that like button on the way out. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you watch this. Be safe and be well. Until next time.
Courage!
Please clap.